This incident happened one Halloween night. Since then, I have stopped celebrating Halloween in my house. My wife and I couldn't have children of our own. Hence, we generally had a soft corner for kids. My wife Samara would buy lots and lots of candies before every Halloween to give to the neighborhood kids. So this one Halloween, we went to the supermarket to pick up groceries and candies. While returning home, we saw cop cars in front of our neighbor's house. Feeling curious, I stopped the car.
Oh, I think something bad has happened here.
So many cops here.
Look, the paramedics are coming too.
My wife pointed at the ambulance coming our way, and I realized the gravity of the situation. A group of people were decorating the streets for Halloween, but now they were all gathered around the house watching the scene with us. 2 cops came out of the house, and we heard a woman's shrill cry.
Oh God, my son, my poor Liam. Oh God, I want him back. I want him back, please.
We saw our neighbor, Mr. Dempsey, trying his best to hold his paranoid wife. Miss Dempsey was out of control. She was screaming and crying like hell. The paramedics went in and took out a smaller boy that was wrapped in black polythene. It wasn't hard to tell from the size of the boy that it belonged to a child. The cops took away the body, and Mr. and Miss Dempsey went to the paramedics. My wife and I were still standing there with no clue whatsoever. When we saw 2 men coming our way, I asked one of them,
Excuse me, what happened here? Oh, don't ask, man. Poor Dempseys. They lost their child before Halloween. What? Why? What happened? Their 7-year-old son was playing in the basement when he accidentally locked himself inside an old cupboard. Mr. and Mrs. Dempsey were upstairs in the kitchen when they called out to their son for dinner and he didn't show up. They felt weird and went down to check on him. They searched the entire basement but couldn't find him.
That's horrifying. How did they find him then?
Well, Mrs. Dempsey saw a piece of blue cloth peeking out from the cupboard door. She opened it and then found the poor, lifeless kid inside the cupboard.
Samara got emotional, and I too felt extremely bad for the Dempseys. No pain in this world could surpass the pain of losing your child. We came home and Samara didn't talk the entire afternoon. She just sat on our porch and watched the neighbors dressing up for Halloween. Once the sun went down, kids started to come out of their houses wearing all kinds of spooky costumes. They went door to door asking for candies. No matter how disheartened we were, we still got up, brought our candy bowls, and gave them to all the kids who came trick-or-treating.
You know, Jonah, I just realized something today.
Samara said while closing the door after distributing the last bit of candies to a group of kids.
What's that, hon?
It's good that we don't have kids. At least I don't have to be afraid of losing them. I just can't imagine what pain Mrs. Dempsey is going through right now.
I could see her teary eyes. I hugged her and kissed her on the forehead.
Come on, let's go to bed. You need to sleep.
That poor kid.
We went upstairs. I stood in front of the bedroom window for a while. The entire neighborhood had gone quiet by the time. All the kids were back home. Every house was glittering with lights and candles placed inside pumpkin heads except the Dempseys. Their house was in complete darkness. Heaving a sigh of sorrow, I went to bed too. I don't remember when I fell asleep, but suddenly, a noise woke me up. Rubbing my eyes, I got up on the bed and heard that noise again. Someone was knocking on the door. I looked at the clock. It was 2:30 in the morning. Samara was deeply asleep. I came downstairs and opened the door. To my surprise, a kid was standing on my porch. A boy wearing a blue t-shirt and white shorts. He kept his head down so I couldn't see his face.
Hey, kiddo, why are you out so late? Do your parents know you're here? No.
The kid's voice sounded so weird to my ears. Also, the fact that he was dressed so casually startled me a bit. After all, it was Halloween, and this kid was not in a costume. I asked again.
Are you all right?
As the kid lifted his head, I almost got a heart attack. His face was pale like a blank sheet, and his eyes were completely black, darker than the darkness.
Whoa, you look pretty spooky. This was a good idea for a Halloween costume, though.
I'm hungry. Can I have some candies?
He opened his palm, saying this.
You're a little late, buddy, but let me see what I can do. Wait here, okay?
The kid tilted his head to the right and just stood that way like a statue. I thought to myself that this kid not only nailed his Halloween look, but also acted scarily. I went to check the fridge and found a half-eaten chocolate bar. I grabbed it and came back to the door to give it to the kid, but he was gone. Thinking the kid had gotten inside, I quickly turned around and said,
Hey, I have some chocolate for you. Take it and go home. Your parents must be worried.
but the kid was nowhere to be seen. I was contemplating what just happened when I heard chuckling and running footsteps in our basement. I opened the basement door and yelled.
Come out of there, kiddo. It's too late to play here. Come on, let me take you home.
I can't see. It's so dark in here. Just like last time.
I turned on the basement light, but shockingly, it didn't turn on. I remember very well that the light was working just fine in the afternoon. Thinking the kid might get scared down there, I grabbed a small flashlight and started walking down the basement stairs. 2 white bed sheets were hanging on the wire at the end of the basement. As I flashed my light at the gap between those sheets, I saw the kid standing there and staring at me with a creepy big smile.
Okay, time to go home now.
Saying this, I walked to the bed sheets, and as I moved them to catch the kid, the hair at the back of my neck stood up. I found myself standing alone in the basement. It was as if the kid just vanished in thin air. There was no one. I repeat, no one behind those sheets. A chilling wind turned the atmosphere around me cold. That's when I heard the chuckle once again. Turning around, I now saw the kid standing right behind me. Blue veins had appeared on his pale face, and the black, thick liquid was dripping down from his eyes. He snatched the chocolate bar from my hand, and I felt his touch. His hands were colder than ice.
What? Who are you?
I am Liam Dempsey. Can you take me home now? I think I'm lost. Can you help me?
Oh my God!
That's it. I don't remember after that. I fainted, and Samara found me in the basement when she came looking for me in the morning. She was surprised and kept asking me why I was sleeping on the basement floor the entire night. But I couldn't tell her what I saw. I often heard about these black-eyed kids, but it was my first time with a real one. I don't know why poor Liam turned into a black-eyed kid, but I think the fact that he died in darkness somehow made him look that way. What do you think? I was just a 10-year-old boy in 1995. At that time, I remember my dad started taking me to the football games he enjoyed so much because I kept insisting that I wanted to go with him.
Are you sure you'll be able to take care of Thomas, John?
My God, Emily!
My dad has always been a distant and unaffectionate man. So as a child, I was very excited to be able to spend time with him, seeing something that made him so happy. I don't think I really liked it. I didn't even understand football very well, but I still had a good time with my dad. The day that reason for not going to a game again happened, my dad and I arrived at the stadium as usual. I used to be a very curious child, so I immediately noticed that something different was going on.
Why are there so many mascots today, Dad? I think it has to do with the NFL Team Heroes program or something. Oh, can we go take a closer look at them? What for? You'll be able to see them from our seats throughout the game. But, Dad... Let's sit down.
He grabbed my wrist, trying to stop me from moving away from him. And together, we walked to the area where we used to sit. From there, I could look at all the different mascots present in the stadium. A hawk, a dog, a ram, a cowboy, a Viking, and many others. But the one that excited me the most was the one from the Miami Dolphins. A dolphin, of course.
This is so cool, Dad! The game hasn't even started, Thomas. I mean, the mascots. I like them.
When my dad didn't like something, he would act cold towards others. I already knew that perfectly well, so I was also aware I had to stay calm and quiet, which I did. It didn't take long for the game to start, which lifted my dad's spirits in a way that made him look like a totally different person. He seemed very happy, 1,000 times more than when he talked to me, which I couldn't understand. Anyway, since I was bored and discouraged, I turned my attention back to the mascots, but this time I couldn't find the dolphin.
Where are you?
Suddenly, a gray thing passed right in front of us. That's when it hit me. What I had been looking for was right under my nose, but I wasn't too happy about it. In front of me was walking the mascot of the Miami Dolphins. From afar, it seemed to be as cute as a real dolphin, but up close, it was the opposite. Its huge gray head made it look very intimidating, and combined with its small arms, made it a misshapen and strange figure. But it was its big blue eyes surrounded by black that gave me the creeps. Suddenly, the creature stopped, turned its head towards me, and stared. At that moment, I felt something strange in my stomach, as if I was dizzy.
Dad?
Disturbed, I pulled on my dad's shirt to get his attention.
What do you want, Thomas?
I wanted to tell him the truth, but at the same time, I knew it wouldn't make anything better. My dad was going to think I was a coward, and he would never bring me to a game again. So I lied to him.
I need to go to the bathroom.
But I received no response from him.
Dad?
What do you want me to do? Go on your own. Aren't you a big boy?
Yes, Dad.
I quickly got up and walked alone to the entrance of the place where the bathrooms were. I opened the door and went to one of the bathroom stalls, closed it, and sat on the toilet. My plan was to stay there for a while to continue the lie, so Dad wouldn't find out how bad of a son I really was. Suddenly, I heard how the door was opened. The person's footsteps could be heard throughout the room. I wasn't paying any particular attention to it, at least not until I saw the stranger's shoes in front of the bathroom stall I was in. They were big, gray shoes.
Hello, kid.
I didn't answer him.
I can hear you, you know.
Of course he could. My breathing had become so noisy that I covered my nose and mouth in an attempt to silence it.
Now, you're very quiet in there. Do you need help? I saw you walk in here alone, so I thought you might need it.
My heart was beating as fast as it had in my entire life.
Are you okay? I'm going to have to go in.
I didn't want to see the deformed monster.
I don't need any help. I'm a big boy.
A big boy? Wanna play with me, big boy?
No.
No? Why not?
I don't like dolphins.
Oh, really? I guess I'll have to go. I wouldn't want to scare you.
Bye.
After hearing how he closed the door, I stood there, still, for a few minutes, as the atmosphere still felt somehow bad. When I finally stopped being so scared, I walked out of the bathroom stall and washed my hands.
Dolphins are supposed to be cute.
I walked to the door of the bathroom and opened it, hoping I could finally be next to my dad. I took several steps back. The dolphin was still there, but this time, something was different. He was not wearing his head. Instead, the smiling face of a man could be seen.
I'm not a dolphin, you know. It occurred to me that once I take off my costume, we can play together.
Tears were coming out of my eyes.
I don't want to.
I tried to push him to get out of the bathroom, but he grabbed both of my arms, pinning me down.
No, stop!
You're gonna play with me, boy. Do you understand?
I screamed nonstop while keeping my eyes closed until I felt the man release me. When I opened them, I saw my dad there, hitting him.
Dad!
He turned to see me.
Why didn't you do anything, Thomas? Were you going to let him do what he wanted? Why didn't you defend yourself?
After that day, our family started to drift apart. My mom and dad were constantly arguing about what had happened. She couldn't believe that my father had left me alone. But what disturbed her most was me and my sudden change in attitude. I was traumatized by that experience. I didn't want to leave my room, nor did I want to see anyone, or even talk, least of all, to my father. Every time he got close to me, I would go into a fit of anger and start hitting everything around me. In fact, I only wanted one thing, to go to a game again. I wanted to show my father that I was not afraid and I was capable of defending myself.
I don't want to eat.
But, Thomas,
You know what I want.
I won't let you go back to that place.
Weeks passed until I had to be admitted to a hospital due to how weak my body was. But that was exactly what helped me know what I was supposed to do. I needed to be stronger than the one who had hurt me. Actually, I made it. I managed to become a mascot, but I did what the dolphin couldn't. That's why I'm in jail now.
Breaking up is one of the most difficult moments in a person's emotional life, especially when we're younger. I can't say I know what it feels like since it's never happened to me, but it did happen to my best friend who had just broken up with his psycho ex-girlfriend. Hey, don't feel so bad. You did the right thing. The situation with Moira was getting out of hand.
I know, Amy, but I miss her so much. Do you think we'll never get back together?
Only time will tell, but if you ask me, you're better off. The girl is insane. Maybe she just needs some time to calm down and reflect. This'll do you both good, and after this you'll be together again.
I know, but if we don't?
I know you will. I hate that you feel so bad. I have an idea. How about you come to my house and watch Naruto? I know you were just finishing it, and the best thing you could do is distract yourself a little.
But that's the anime I used to watch with her.
Yeah, but just like me, she had already seen it. You can finish watching it with me, and when she talks to you again, you'll have something to talk about.
You're right, Amy. Thanks for taking such good care of me.
Of course. What are friends for? After that, the days went by very quickly. Almost every day after school, Tate would come over to my house and we would watch Naruto together. He was still worried about his ex, but I held him back and told him that sooner or later she would show up, and for better or worse, she did. I started seeing Moira on the street, far away from me. Anyone would think it was a coincidence, but every time I saw her more and more often, closer and closer, watching me from different places with eyes full of anger. I just pretended not to see her and kept walking. Several days later, I woke up unusually. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting in a chair. On the TV, there was a Naruto episode paused. I tried to move my body to get up, but it didn't respond. I was tied up. I began to feel breath next to me, and I moved my head, slowly. Wakey, wakey! Moira was sitting next to me, with a maniacal grin and nervous eyes staring at me. She was dressed in a red kimono, identical to that of Sakura, a character from Naruto. Tate was also tied up in another chair. Nice house you have. Is here where you tried to steal my boyfriend?
Mara, stop! She has nothing to—
Shut up! Moira, I'm not interested in stealing your boyfriend. He always was, is, and will be a friend. Nothing more than that, I swear. Yeah, of course. That's just what the Shinigami told me you were going to tell me.
What?
The Shinigami is the demon of death in Naruto. She's lost her mind. Shut up, both of you! A few days ago, while I was at my worst, a Shinigami sent me a message and helped me straighten up. He taught me the truth. He also gave me the key to getting you back. Binding us against our will is the key? I told you to shut up! You know what we'll do? We'll watch a Naruto episode together. Moira sat on the floor and with a huge smile played the Naruto episode. Was this the same girl who slapped me less than 5 seconds ago? After the episode started, you could hardly tell that she saw it. As the minutes ticked by, she only saw our faces. It was as if she couldn't take her eyes off us. She just watched us obsessively, observing every fiber of our bodies. The episode ended, and it felt like only seconds had passed. Moira stood up took out a small kunai from her pocket, and approached me. Sakura uses this weapon in the anime. Do you like it? Moira was playing with her kunai while looking at me. What she didn't know was that the ropes she used were loose, and I was able to free myself while watching Naruto. When she was distracted, I threw myself at her and pulled out the kunai. I lunged at Tate to free him, but she grabbed my feet and made me fall. I grabbed her head and slammed her to the ground. In one leap, I released Tate, who went running to call the police. Meanwhile, I put the kunai on her face and told her not to move. As the police took her away, I fell to the ground, crying inconsolably for all that had happened. With some guilt, Tate hugged me. So, do you think I still have a chance of getting Tate back when I get out of here? Absolutely. He's anxious to see you. He's just not ready to come here. I'm so excited! The Shinigami told me this was going to happen. Is that right? Yes. Everything he told me came true. He was the one who told me to watch the next chapter of Naruto. He also told me to loosen your ropes and let you capture me. He told me that you would always come to see me, and that as soon as I got out of here, Tate would come back to me. Wow, that Shinigami seems very wise. Thank you so much, Amy. I'm sorry I mistrusted you. The Shinigami also told me not to hurt you. I never planned to. What are you laughing about? Since we're so close, can I tell you a secret? Of course. Sweetie, there never was a Shinigami. The one who was texting you was me, just from a different phone. I don't understand. Tate was so sad. He missed you very much. Sooner or later, you were going to reconcile, and I didn't want to wait any longer. It was my turn to be with him. I gave you the address of my house. I let you see us watching Naruto, and I planned everything that happened that day. But you said that Tate hates you, and you'll never get out of here. Which is a shame, because I was going to invite you to our wedding in a few months. You're a... I think that was the last time I'm gonna visit her.
Hey, don't worry. You did what you could. I lost faith in her a long time ago.
But I wanted her to get better, so you guys could keep in touch.
You're so good, Amy. Don't worry. All I need is you.
I don't like Halloween. Since it's only one day a year, I try to ignore that day as much as possible. But lately, I feel like the days fly by except for that one, as if it's Halloween every day. As in previous years, I decided to invite some friends over to make the night go by faster. As I was talking to my friends, the doorbell rang. It was probably some kids asking for candy, so I went to open the door. Behind the door were a boy and a girl no more than 10 years old. Both were disguised in a very simple but effective way, because when I saw them, they gave me a huge feeling of discomfort.
Trick or treat!
The children just stood there, waiting for my response. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have any candy. Wow, you guys really know how to get into character. Congratulations, but I really don't have any candy. Bye, I hope you can find lots more. Hey, Angela, do you want to watch the movie with us? Myers is about to meet Lori. Instinctively, I raised my head and eyes in the direction of the horror movie my friends were watching. But my gaze was quickly lost in what I saw in the window next to the TV. What? Looking at the window, I noticed two small heads peeking out. They were the children from before, staring at me. Their huge, veiny eyes stared at me as they trembled. I knew they were just children in disguise, but they generated a horrible feeling. Something was wrong. I went to the window to shoo them away, but Eileen stopped me. Angela, is something wrong? Eileen, did you see those children at the window? They're the same ones who knocked on the door before. Huh, And what did the kids look like? It was a boy and a girl. They were both in makeup. They were dressed up like the characters from The Grudge, weren't they? Yes, exactly. Just like in that movie. Have you seen them? Why don't you go to your room and rest? You look a little tired, Angela. Yeah, maybe the night'll be over quicker if I do. You're right. When I got to my room, I suddenly felt very tired. I love kids, but I really hate Halloween. Maybe I was overly stressed just because of a few kids playing. I lay down, closed my eyes, and let my body start to relax.
Trick or treat!
I opened my eyes quickly at the voice of the children saying trick or treat. They were both at the foot of the bed in front of me. I tried to rub my eyes, but something was wrong. My arms wouldn't move. The children began to walk toward me in slow motion. I used all my strength to move my body, but all I could do was feel more and more pain. The children were already halfway to me. I had to do something. I didn't know what they would do to me, but I was sure it would be something terrible. My body hurt too much and I couldn't breathe. They were already in front of me. What were they going to do to me? Why are they only looking at me? Suddenly, I began to hear the voice of a baby, louder and louder. It felt like it was drilling my ears, so much so that I had already forgotten about the children. Ah! My body was still aching, but I was safe. It was all a terrible nightmare.
Trick or treat!
Ah! What was going on? At that moment, I just knew I had to run. I had to get to my friends and get out of there as soon as possible. I tried to open my door, but it was locked. How was that possible? Help! Somebody help me! Open the door! The door suddenly opened, and on the other side was Bruce. I tried to run, but he grabbed me.
Angela, what's wrong?
The children! They're here! We have to go!
There's no need to get agitated. Come, we'll talk to the doctor.
Doctor?
I mean, with Eileen. Come on, let's go.
Bruce took me into the kitchen, where Eileen was sitting, waiting for me. I took a seat while he stood behind me. Is everything all right, Angela? The kids! They were at the door, but then at the window, and suddenly I saw them in my dreams, but they were there when I woke up. Angela, I need you to calm down. There were no children there. This is all your imagination. But I saw them. Angela, we're trying to play along so you can remember on your own, but this is getting out of control. You need to take responsibility for what you've been through. What do you mean? Today is not Halloween, Angela. It wasn't yesterday or the day before either. But you need to remember, Angela. Those children you see are dead. You were pregnant and lost your baby, and you were told you could never conceive. Some kids knocked on your door on Halloween and you kidnapped them. People saw you. You tried to escape by putting them in a car, but you crashed it. None of the kids survived, and you were injured. You've been here ever since. Here? I started looking around. This wasn't my kitchen. It was an office. Eileen was in a doctor's coat, and Bruce was behind her, dressed all in white with a badge that said security personnel. No, I'm not at home. You need to rest, Angela. Tomorrow we'll talk more about this dream. Bruce, give her a sedative to help her. Confused, I watched as Bruce injected something into my arm, and all of a sudden, I started to get dizzy. Bruce picked me up and began to carry me to my room. On the way, I passed the dining room, but it wasn't like I remembered it. My friends who were watching movies were other patients watching cartoons. The ones at the table were not talking, but staring blankly into nothingness. When we got to my room, it was much smaller than I remembered. Bruce laid me down on the bed, and in the face of sleep, I started to close my eyes.
Do you think she's faking everything to avoid going to prison?
I don't think so. Many of the symptoms match those of schizophrenia.
Eileen, you need to see this.
What happened? Let me see.
I used to run a YouTube channel where I explored abandoned, closed outlets to find antique stuff, kind of like a treasure hunt. Not necessarily gold and jewels, but other expensive items, antique furniture, equipment, etc. With my two childhood friends, Elliot and Morgan, I went to an abandoned asylum for our last video. The asylum was a prison for insane criminals. Some even said the prison guards performed lobotomy with ice picks on the criminals, ending up killing them horribly.
Dude, this place is scary. Should we even go here?
I was sitting at the desk when Elliot said this to Morgan. He laughed and replied,
You think mad, deranged criminals will chase us? Shut up! Why do you bring this chicken with us every time, Daniel?
You're such a jerk. Hey, stop it, you two. Enough!
I settled them down and decided to go there on a Saturday night. It was a full moon, so we could see with the help of the moonlight. The asylum was looking 1,000 times creepier at night. Huge bats were hanging from a nearby tree. The light of the moon fell on their eyes and made them glow in the dark. We took our flashlights and went inside the asylum. As soon as we stepped inside the building, I felt a rush of cold air wrapping around me like a snake.
Whoa, did you feel the sudden drop in temperature?
Yeah.
I guess it's because of the closed space.
Morgan was an atheist, so he only believed his eyes. We started walking down the long corridor, which was filled with cobwebs and dust. Dirty rags, disposed of syringes, and broken glass were all over the place. We came in front of a room which had a red door. It was surprising to see how the whole place had turned abandoned and filthy, but the red door was shiny as new.
Should we go inside? Yeah, why not?
I pushed the door and we entered. The room had a projector placed in the middle, and a white screen hung on the other end. We got excited seeing the old projector. Many pawn shops will agree to pay a hefty sum for such an antique piece. 2, if it still works. Elliot pressed the play button.
Really? Do you think it will still work? Also, there's no electricity at this building.
Why do you have to comment on everything I do?
Because you do all the wrong stuff.
I was about to tell them to stop fighting when all of a sudden, the lights in the room flickered twice and the projector started playing the reel on its own.
Tell us, Lizabelle, did you?
Did I what?
Did you kill those 4 people before coming here?
Yes, I killed them.
Why?
Because I like it when they scream.
How does it make you feel?
I feel alive. It's like music to my ears. At night, when I can't sleep, I imagine those people screaming for their lives. Oh, it's so much fun. When the knife cuts through the flesh and red, thick liquid rushes down, I can almost feel my heart beating faster in joy.
As we watched the crazy patient saying all these bizarre things to the camera, all of our jaws dropped at once. Suddenly, the video had a glitch and the camera showed a room with red doors.
Is it this room?
Elliot asked the question in a scared voice. I nodded without taking my eyes off the screen. Now in that video, a pair of hands pushed the door open and we saw a horrible sight. That same woman was now tied to a bed like they do in mental institutions. She was screaming and behaving frantically to set herself free. 3 men wearing lab coats and surgical masks were standing next to her. One of them took a weird headpiece and put it on the woman's burnt head. And then the other one turned on a machine placed beside the bed, and the woman started receiving electric shocks. We could see the electric waves sparking in the headpiece, and smoke started coming out of her head. But even if her skin burnt, she didn't even flinch. Instead, she started laughing hysterically.
I won't scream like them, Doctor. No matter how much you try. You give me more pain, and I will laugh louder. None of you will ever get to hear my scream, no matter how much you torture me.
And suddenly, the projector stopped, leaving the room in complete darkness. I heard Morgan scream and quickly turned on the flashlight. Morgan was holding his cheek while breathing heavily. Someone had just scratched his entire face with really sharp fingernails. And to our surprise, Elliot was gone.
Who did this to you? Oh my god!
Where is Elliot? We need to find him. We better get out of here immediately.
We both rushed outside the room and were about to go upstairs to check for Elliot when we heard a sobbing voice. The voice was coming from the end of the corridor.
Is that Elliot?
I don't know.
Morgan and I slowly walked to the end of the corridor. As I flashed my torch, I saw Elliot sitting in the corner, right infant of a broken wall. He had his back at us and was rocking back and forth while sobbing painfully.
Elliot, are you all right?
Hey, get up. We need to leave. Elliot, come on, man.
I think there's something wrong with him, Morgan. Do you think he is the one who attacked you in the dark?
I don't know. I just want to get the hell out of here. Are you guys coming?
I once again called out to Elliot.
Elliot, let's leave, okay? Everything will be all right then.
You promise?
Yes, come on, let's go!
Elliot slowly got up, but he still didn't turn back. He just stood like a statue. Morgan lost all his patience and grabbed his shoulders, yelling,
Enough of your stupid pranks. We need to...
Seeing this horrible scene, Morgan screamed, and I too couldn't just stand there anymore. We both ran for our lives, and we heard Elliot saying from behind,
Oh, I still enjoy when they scream. The best music to my ears.
It's been 8 months since we saw Elliot. We went to the cops and told them everything. They went back to the asylum to check for our friend, but they didn't find anyone. Elliot's disappearance is now just a missing persons case. We have no idea what happened to him or if he's even alive. We went to an abandoned asylum looking for valuable treasure, but instead lost our friend forever. I don't know if Lisabel was a real patient and she did what she said in that video, but be aware of entering any abandoned asylum, as it can change your life into a nightmare forever. Hey, I'm Nathan. And even though I don't have any tattoos, I'm a big fan of them. When I was a kid, I always wanted to get a tattoo, but my parents wouldn't let me. When I came of age, all my friends got tattoos, except me. The answer couldn't be simpler. I usually say it's because I'm afraid of needles, but that's a lie. Every time I hear that particular sound of the tattoo machine, I think about her. The first time I met Gabrielle, the tattoo artist, I was accompanying a friend of mine to get a tattoo. I was planning to do it the following month, but when Nancy told me to see her, find out what was waiting for me, I didn't hesitate for a second.
You're having second thoughts? I'm the one who's going to get tattooed. You shouldn't be afraid.
I'm more afraid of being kidnapped and having our organs sold when we go in. Surely you know this tattooist?
Actually, no.
Nancy, what the hell?
But I know she's reliable. A friend recommended her to me. He said she works very well and she's cheap. Maybe too cheap. I'll consider your proposal to sell the organs.
From the open window of the shop peered a tattooed girl. She was extremely thin and her eyes were tinted blood red. So I assumed she was wearing contact lenses. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No offense taken, darling. Come in before someone really tries to kidnap you.
Upon entering, we found a tattoo bed and various tools. The place looked well kept, definitely counteracting what was outside. Without wasting any time, the tattooist began to prepare to do the tattoo. I had never seen Nancy so excited. Maybe that's what kept her from seeing her tattooist watching me. At first, I thought it was a coincidence, but as the minutes passed, her eyes kept pointing obviously at me, more and more, and it even got to the point where she didn't care if Nancy noticed. My friend lay down on the bed and stared at the wall while Gabrielle tattooed her left arm.
How are you doing, hun?
She asked Nancy while still looking at me.
It hurts a little, but I'm fine. And what about you? Are you planning to get a tattoo?
Her question caught me off guard. I don't know yet. I might do it in the future.
What the hell, Nathan? You're anxious to get a tattoo.
Gabrielle didn't like the answer. She gave me a bad look for a moment and then resumed the maniacal smile she was looking at me with.
Maybe he's afraid of tattoos. Maybe you're right. You know, Nathan, you shouldn't be afraid of getting a tattoo. You should embrace the pain. It's beautiful, and it'll be with you all your life.
I could swear her red contact lenses were glowing. I felt like this woman was looking right through me, more and more anxious.
Ow! You're hurting me. I'm sorry, dear. I was tattooing a sensitive part.
Fortunately, Nancy got a smaller tattoo, so we weren't there for more than an hour. At that time, Gabrielle didn't stop for a moment to look at me with her horrible, macabre smile. The days after that went from bad to worse. Gabrielle wrote me, and I decided to ignore her. She gave me a really bad vibe. Time proved that my decision was the right one, because soon after, she started writing me on all the social networks. Her messages made no sense. Sometimes she would talk to herself without me answering her. Then she would insult me, and suddenly she would start talking naturally again. Every time I blocked her, she followed me with a new account. Shortly after that, I started to see her on the street or when I went shopping. She would not approach me. She would just wave at me from a distance, as if to let me know she was following me. I knew I should have mustered up the courage to tell her to leave me alone, but I was always a person who avoided confrontation at all costs. I didn't even dare to approach her. And I think that's what encouraged her to keep harassing me. The girl just waved at me. I didn't have to do anything to stop her. But my inaction brought its consequences a few days later. I was leaving my house. It was a sunny Tuesday and the streets were empty. As soon as I took a few steps out of my house, I saw a shadow in front of me. As soon as my brain processed that I had to turn around, a hand came behind me, put a handkerchief on my face, and suddenly, I started to get very sleepy. So sleepy that I closed my eyes and fell over. When I opened my eyes, I was inside the tattoo parlor, and in front of me, dressed in a tunic, Gabrielle was looking at me with her eyes wide open.
You finally woke up, sleepyhead. Don't bother talking. Nothing you have to say is important. Nathan, I've loved you from the first moment I saw you from my window. Oh, come on. I'm not dumb. I know you don't even know me, and I don't know you either, but my love doesn't go through the romantic.
At my terrified look, Gabrielle took off her robe and showed me her body. She was in a bikini, and her whole body was covered with tattoos with the letter N inside a heart. Her body was all red and swollen. Those tattoos had been fresh.
Obviously, I'm not in love with you as a person. What I'm in love with is the feeling I get from seeing you. The pain I feel when I see you talking to your friend. How much I want to hurt you. Look at my body, Nathan. Do you have any idea how much it hurts? I squeezed the needle really hard and did it all by myself, even on my back. This is what an artist does, Nathan. We feel passion, emotions. I love this rush. And you know what's better than hurting me? Doing it to someone else. Nathan, I'll tattoo my initials all over your body. And you know what? I won't use ink. I'll do it in blood.
With her machine turned on hand, Gabrielle started to walk slowly towards me, as if enjoying every second of my fear. I couldn't stop crying. I was at the mercy of this psychopath. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door of the tattoo parlor, and she turned her head in that direction. I took advantage of the distraction to stand, tied up, and ram her with all my might. Gabrielle hit the wall and was stunned, so it was hard for her to stand up. Meanwhile, I rammed the weak wooden door.
Oh, kid. Now you've done it.
Gabrielle was standing up in a rage.
I'll tattoo you with a knife.
Gabrielle grabbed a knife from the table and came towards me at high speed. But before I got her next to me, I gave the door one last push and opened it. The tattooist tried to follow me, but surprised, stopped. When she saw that, on the other side of the door, there were two policemen pointing a gun at her. A few minutes later, I was untied, telling the cops what happened as they took the tattoo artist away. When I asked them how they knew she was there, I was terrified to hear one of them say that they didn't know. They had only come because a neighbor complained about the noise. After that day, I'm still a tattoo fanatic, but I could never get one. Every time I hear the machine, I remember her walking slowly towards me to tattoo my whole body with her initials. I have been a fan of the Ultimate Fighting Championship for about 3 years. The excitement and adrenaline that the fights generate in me is not compared to any other situation I have experienced in my life. That's why I go to these regularly. But I never thought I would have such an unpleasant and traumatizing experience there as I did last week. On that occasion, the fight was between Charles Oliveira and Dustin Poirier. The plan was to go to the event with one of my friends, but he finally couldn't, so I decided to go on my own. In the first round, the excitement began to spread in the audience. And once the second started, you could hear the shouts of enthusiasm from the people throughout the entire room.
Yeah! Come on!
I wanted Dustin to be the winner, but it seemed that it was going to be Charles instead. Whatever the outcome, my heart couldn't have been beating faster. By the time the second round was over, I felt like my throat was shredded from screaming. I wanted to stay there while I waited for the next round, but I really needed to go to the bathroom, so I walked through the crowd to the hall on one side of the huge room. As I made my way to the bathroom, I realized how excited the audience was with the fight, as no one had wanted to leave their spot, even to go to the bathroom, unlike me, so not a soul was in that area of the building. There, almost at the end of the hall, the noise of the event and the people seemed to have distorted enough for it to be ignored.
Shit, I'm not gonna notice when they continue. Better do this quick.
After opening the door and entering the bathroom, I realized that no one was actually there, since all the doors were open. Soon, I walked over to one of the stalls, closed it, and, started doing what I needed to do. The silence of the room was only being disturbed by my breathing and the other sounds I caused, at least until I heard someone start to open the door. But it was strange because it seemed that they had only opened it a little, as if they just wanted to see what was inside. What had it been? I could have sworn I heard a deep voice laugh with malice and enthusiasm. The creak of the door, once it was fully opened, echoed throughout the room, as did the crash when the person closed it, surprising me. The sound of the stranger's heavy footsteps made me notice that he was approaching the bathroom stalls. A strong smell of alcohol, tobacco, and sweat filled my nostrils as the man approached. Damn, was what I thought. Suddenly, The door of the bathroom stall next to me was slammed shut.
Fucking drunk.
The strong smell coming from that man was making me dizzy. In fact, I couldn't even concentrate on finishing what I was doing since I didn't feel comfortable at all. So I decided to just clean myself up and get out of the bathroom. But before that, I heard something.
I can smell you.
Are you talking to me?
Your smell is strong. I can smell you. I like it.
My heart started beating fast again, but this time, it wasn't a good sign.
What the heck, man? You drank too much.
The bad feeling that began to grow inside of me only made things worse, as together with that smell, it gave me a rather annoying headache. So I closed my eyes and massaged my head in an attempt to get better. But the second I opened my eyes again...
Shit!
He was looking at me from under the bathroom stall with no expression on his face.
What the heck do you think you're doing?
I can smell you.
No shit, we're in the bathroom.
I wanted to smell you up close. I wanted to see you.
I remained silent, looking at him while I thought about what he had said for a few seconds.
What the heck?
Don't you like it?
Like what? Get out of here!
Or what?
Soon, I turned on my cell phone and activated the camera.
I'm recording you. Go away! You're sick, man!
After making some strange expressions, he backed away. I sighed in an attempt to calm down, and then cleaned myself up, flushed the toilet, and reached my hand to the door of the bathroom stall to open it. I tried to get out of his grasp quickly, but he was really trying not to let go.
Damn it! Let go!
Soon, with my left foot, I hit his arm. I can swear I even heard a crack.
Sick bastard!
I ran out of the bathroom while hyperventilating. Since I was so dizzy and anxious, I bumped into a woman, but I didn't stop.
Sir?
I still had this horrible combination of odors stuck in my nose, making me want to vomit. So before I could reach the end of the hall, I had no choice but to stop. It seemed as if everything around me was moving, so I leaned against one of the walls and I tried to take a deep breath.
Are you all right?
I knew the woman who was talking to me was the same one I bumped into, but I didn't want to turn to see her.
There's a creep in the bathroom.
Huh?
I felt intense anger and frustration, so this time I turned to yell at her.
A creep! There's a creep in the bathroom!
The woman, part of the cleaning crew at the place, just stared at me in surprise.
What's the problem here?
A security guard seemed to have heard me, so soon he walked over to us and positioned himself next to her.
There's a creep in the bathroom! He stared at me and, well...
The woman looked away from me with a guilty expression on her face.
I'm not sure what he wanted to do, but he said some weird shit, okay? And then... Sir, I think you need to rest. I'm terrified! I don't need to rest! I need you to do something about that creepy-ass man! I will, but please keep your distance. What the... Ugh!
After that, I left the place. I couldn't stay there knowing that creep was close by. I tried to forget what had happened as best I could, but days later I realized something that grossed me out. I saw a photo of one of the fighters with the owner of the place I had gone to. He was that man. Apart from trick-or-treating and the town hall dinner, there was one particular reason I eagerly waited for Halloween every year. The reason was my grandma. She would visit us the day before Halloween and spend an entire week in our house. She spoiled me in every possible way. Even the town kids looked forward to her visits. The main reason was her Halloween candy. Granny made the best chocolate bars one can ever taste. Every kid in my town paid a mandatory visit to our house for those chocolate bars. Granny gave them candy for the whole family. So, this one Halloween, Granny arrived and I ran out screaming.
Granny, you're here!
She came out of the car stretching her arms at me and said,
"Oh, my little honey boo, come to Grandma."
We hugged and I couldn't contain my joy. Mom and Dad helped Granny to carry her luggage and got into talking. I was standing there when I saw a new kid staring at me from our neighbor, Mr. Merlin's porch. The boy was bigger than me in size and had red, messy hair. The way he checked me out felt so evil. No one ever made me feel that way. Everyone in this town always treated me like family, but this kid was really scary.
"What is it, honey boo?"
I came back to my world, hearing Granny's voice. She followed my eyes and noticed that kid.
"Is he new here?
Yeah, I saw a man drop him off with the Merlins.
Have you talked to him?"
Not yet.
"Well, you should. You will have one more friend here then."
I'm not sure he wants to be my friend.
"What? Why do you say that?"
Didn't you see how weirdly he is staring at us?
That's just what kids do.
In the evening, everyone started decorating the town with spooky Halloween props. I was playing football with the neighborhood kids. We were having fun when I saw Chrissy coming towards me with that red-haired kid from the morning.
Guys, this is Monty. He's my cousin.
Hi, Monty. What's your name, jackass? What?
Hey, don't talk like that. That's Damon, my best friend.
Even if Chrissy asked Monty to behave nicely, but Monty didn't. He went on with his insults.
Damon? What kind of stupid name is that?
Enough, okay?
Or what? You're gonna complain about me to your mayor dad? Don't you dare talk about him.
A sick smile appeared on Monty's face as he spat on his hand and wiped it on my shirt. All the kids were terrified of him because of his size. No one had the guts to protest. But utterly grossed and furious, I screamed.
What the hell? Why did you do that? I thought we would be friends. I don't make friends with freaks. Go home and cry to your dad, dummy.
Saying this, he pushed me and I fell into a puddle right behind me. Muddy water ruined my trousers and I got covered in dirt. Monty was stronger than me, so like a scaredy cat, I actually ran home. I could hear his disgusting laughter from behind. That kid was a bully, and I didn't know how to face someone like him. When I got home, Granny was making chocolate in the kitchen. My parents were out, so, having no one right beside me, I burst into tears. Hearing my sobbing voice, Granny came out from the kitchen.
Hey, what happened? Oh no, did you have an accident?
He pushed me and also spat on me.
What? Who? Who did this to you, Damon?
That stupid new kid. I hate him, Granny. None of my friends ever treated me like him. I don't want to be his friend anymore.
I hugged Granny and went on crying loudly. She calmed me down and said,
"Don't worry. He'll be nice to you. Why don't you invite him for dinner tonight?"
What? But he was so mean to me.
Just trust your granny. Go, invite him for dinner. Your parents won't be home till midnight. We could use the company.
As shocked as I was by Granny's reaction, but I surely trusted her more than anyone in this world. I put on fresh clothes and went to Mr. Marlin's house. Monty opened the door and got nervous. He probably thought I was there to rat him out, but once I asked him to join me for dinner, he too remained shocked. Mr. Merlin gave him permission right away, and I returned home, taking Monty with me. My granny was waiting for us at the dinner table already. Once we got in, she greeted Monty.
Welcome, welcome. Damon said you were new here. All the kids in town love my candies. Would you like to try some?
Candies? That's all? I thought you guys invited me here for dinner. Don't tell me your granny is a freak too, jackass.
I was stunned to see his audacity. With ashamed eyes, I looked at Granny, but she seemed different this time. The forever loving smile was long gone from her face. Her blue eyes were glowing like stars in the night sky. The wrinkles in her face turned denser as she smiled ear to ear, and chanted in a scary, squeaky voice.
When witches go riding and black cats are seen, the moon whispers, 'tis near Halloween. Look into my eyes as I stare into your soul. You will do as I wish. You will do as you're told. When witches go riding and black cats are seen, the moon whispers, 'tis near Halloween. Look into my eyes as I stare into your soul. You will do as I wish. You will do as you're told.
I don't know what happened, but as Granny went on saying these things, I saw a striking change in Monty's behavior. His eyeballs turned different. I could see a black and white whirling pattern in them, as if he was being hypnotized. Suddenly, his body became all stiff, and he didn't even blink.
Monty?
Yes, Granny.
Slap yourself, Monty.
As soon as Granny said this, Monty lifted his right palm and imprinted a tight slap on his cheek. Granny laughed in enjoyment.
You will be Damon's best friend from now on, okay?
Okay, Granny.
Oh my. What's happening to him, Granny? Granny came close to me, caressed my cheek, and said,
It's time you know who you are. Come with me. Until we come back, you're going to wash all the dishes in the kitchen. Do you understand?
Yes, Granny.
My head was throbbing in pain. I was too shocked to hear a single word. Monty went to the kitchen and started washing our dishes like a machine. I followed Granny to the basement. I could hear a boiling sound accompanied by a weird burnt stench. My mom never lets me go to the basement. She says it's infested by mice, but that night, I found out the real truth. There was a big cauldron sitting right in the middle of the basement. Green smoke was coming out of it.
There boiled the town's favorite chocolate bars. After today, no one will dare be mean to you, Damon. Our family is blessed by the Dark Lord. Every Halloween, I come here to renew the spell that we cast the day your parents moved here.
10 years? We have been manipulating these people with our spells for 10 years? What? What are we, Granny? Are we even humans?
You are the son of darkness. Our ancestors have been praying to the Dark Lord for generations. We are way above those petty humans. We can make them say, even behave in any way we want.
I just couldn't believe my ears. It all felt like a dream. I finally understood why no one in this town ever messed with us. I understood how my father became mayor. I understood why all the kids in my school treat me as their best friend. It was all a lie, but I was still relieved. I am safe among my people. We are safe in this town. That's why we took shelter here 10 years ago. Since then, we have been ruling our small world. My name is Alan. I have a wife and 2 young daughters. I'm just an ordinary man who has a boring office job. But what I'm about to tell you is something incredible. For this story, I need you to open your mind as much as you can. I won't judge you if you don't believe me. To tell you the truth, if my family hadn't gone through what I have, I wouldn't believe myself either. It all started when we moved into this house where my parents had lived all their lives. My mother had recently passed away and the house was uninhabited. We decided that what she would have wanted was for us to live there, to fill the house with new and beautiful memories with her granddaughters. What we didn't know was that we were not going to be alone. At first, we only heard strange noises in the house. The children were telling me that they saw people walking around at night, that the doors would open and close by themselves, or that the doorbell would ring by itself. I can't deny the noises, but the kids had never lived in a big house, so the rest was probably a product of their imagination. After a while, even I couldn't deny what was happening. Doors opened and closed on their own without the slightest drop of air running through the house. The faucets opened and some rooms were freezing in the middle of summer. All this would have been enough for me to leave except for one detail. I was sure that the presence that inhabited the house was my mother. At first, I was afraid, but eventually I began to hear someone humming a familiar song. It was the same one my mother used to sing to me when I was little. My family didn't seem very convinced of this, but I convinced them by making them see what was going on in the house. Had never hurt any of us in any way. Everything was fine for a while. We tried to get used to what was going on, but things started to get worse. Some dishes started flying dangerously against us. The kids felt constantly watched, and even I started to get a strange feeling that something bad was going to happen. Was my mom mad about something? Or was there something else in the house? We had only one way to find out. Ask her. The day we chose to do it was Halloween, since that was the night when all the spirits are most active and all the paranormal activity increases. We bought an Ouija board with my wife, and no one looked at us worried. Apparently, everyone bought them for this date. When the night came, the girls went to a friend's house to spend the night and ask for candy. So the house was only for me, my wife, and my brother, who proposed to help us with the process.
Playing with the Ouija board on Halloween. How fitting, right?
Make one more joke and I'll go trick-or-treating with the girls.
Mothers-in-law are really scary, aren't they?
Without further words, we started to play. We started asking her simple questions like if there was someone on the other side or if she lives with us in the house. But when we asked her if she was my mother, the board went to no, and the mood changed immediately.
Alan, it said no.
Is my mother with you? Well, can we talk to her?
Alan, I don't like this. We should get going.
What do you want from us?
B L O O D.
Before I could say anything, the board shook much harder, and suddenly, it launched itself at me.
To hell with saying goodbye! Let's go!
My brother screamed in terror as we all started to run. The house began to shake and all the paintings fell down. We reached the exit door and everyone ran to the car, but I stopped. Behind me, I heard my mother humming the lullaby.
Alan, what the hell are you doing? Let's go!
No, I have to check to see if I see my mom. Wait for me! I promise I'll be right back! Just let it be! That is not Mom!
Without hearing them yelling at me to come back, I went back into the house. Maybe it sounds crazy. Hell, it was probably crazy. But I wanted to hold on to the slim chance of seeing her again one last time. I went into the room where we played Ouija, and the light in the next room, the kitchen, began to flicker. I stood in the dining room looking at her, and there she was. My mom, upon seeing me, stopped humming the song. I was about to hug her, but I felt something strange that prevented me from going. But at the same time, my body was totally paralyzed, and I could only stand there looking at her. That's more than I needed. My mother wasn't here. She never was, just something that played with me from the beginning. I got in the car crying, and as Cheryl was scolding me, I looked at the window of the house, and standing in it was my mother standing there, greeting me with a huge smile. Her eyes and mouth were cooked as she finished waving at me. Her face was shaking, like the monster I had seen in the kitchen. Several months passed since everything happened. After my brother put us up in his house, we were able to raise the money to move out on our own again. We did not suffer any paranormal event again, nor did we try to sell that house. We do not wish that nightmare on anyone else. From now on, no more ghosts. I will only spend time with my wife and daughters. It's what my mother would have wanted.
You mean blood? What do you want? Come on, man. Oh my God, Tommy! God,
I was probably 11 years old when this incident happened. My dad was a huge football fan and often went to see live matches. This one time, my mom went to stay with my grandma for a while, so it was just me and my dad. We were planning how to spend our weekend when he suggested we go to a football game. It was a match between the Dallas Cowboys and the Miami Dolphins. My dad and I got into the car and drove to the stadium. It was flooded with people. Fans from all over the country came to see their favorite team win. Being my first time at a football game, I was excited too.
Riley, you stay here. I'll go get the popcorn, okay?
Okay, Dad. I stood in the hallway and watched people entering the stadium. Within 5 minutes, the stadium was filled and the game began. My dad and I got good seats too and started enjoying the game to the fullest. I was overwhelmed to see so many people cheering and screaming for their teams. I ate a tub full of popcorn and drank a large cup of Pepsi. My dad was having a ball watching his home team scoring back to back. Meanwhile, I started to feel a tingly sensation in my stomach and felt the urge to pee. Dad? Dad, I need to go to the bathroom.
Now? Well, can't you wait till halftime, kiddo?
I can go by myself. It's just around the corner.
You sure?
Yes, Dad.
Fine then. Promise me you won't wander around. You'll go straight to the washroom and then come right back here, okay?
Yes, Dad, it won't take long, I promise. Saying this, I got up from my seat and went into the hallway again. Everyone was hooked on the game, so the hallway was empty. I started to walk toward the end of it, right where the girls' bathroom was located. Needless to say, it was so quiet that I could hear my footsteps. From time to time, I could hear the audience cheer and clap, but that soon faded away once I reached the bathroom. I was about to go in when I heard a female voice behind me.
Riley.
I turned back and, surprisingly, saw my mom standing at the narrow passageway leading to my right. Mom? Is that you? The light at the passageway was flickering like crazy, so even if I could figure out it was a woman, I still couldn't see her face well enough to be sure if it was my mom. Also, the fact that my mother was miles away from this stadium confused me even more.
Follow me this way, Riley.
But, Mom, how did you come here? You said you wouldn't be back till next week.
I came to surprise you. Come here. Let me take you to the bathroom. There's another one on this side. Much cleaner than that one. Come with me.
Now, generally, I don't say no to my mom. But even though everything about this encounter felt funny and fishy, I still didn't know why I couldn't say no. Some kind of invisible force dragged me toward the mysterious woman whom I thought was my mother. I started walking toward the narrow passage. She was walking ahead of me, and no matter how fast I walked, we always had this 9 or 10-foot distance between us. In that blinking light, I could see the woman wearing a white silk shirt that had some kind of weird stains on it. Her hands and legs were filled with scratches. She stopped in front of a small white door and opened it. She was right. There was another bathroom with a big mirror on the wall. She went in, and so did I. In the gloomy light of that bathroom, for the first time, I saw my mom's face. Her skin was pale like a sheet, and her eyes were wide like a night owl. She had a scary smirk on her face. As I stood in front of that mirror and noticed my reflection, I began to feel weird. I looked back at my mom and said, "Mom, you need to stand outside. I can't go in if you keep watching me."
Fine. I will wait for you to come back. Then we will go somewhere exciting. I have a surprise for you.
Okay. She closed the door behind her, and as I turned back to look at the mirror, what I saw made my stomach drop. My reflection looked nothing like me. It had turned into the horrifying face of a little girl. She had hollow eyes and a largely expanded dark mouth. I wanted to scream, but my voice died in my throat. The girl's mouth closed up slowly, like a shrinking rubber band, and she spoke to me.
Don't follow her, Riley. Get out of here and go straight to your dad.
Her voice sounded so distorted, nothing like a little girl.
Who are you? Go to your dad. She is not your mom. Please, go to your dad or else you'll end up like me, stuck inside this mirror forever.
I wanted to move, but I was so scared that my body froze. Meanwhile, I heard my mom's voice from the other side of the bathroom door.
Riley, don't listen to her. Come out. Come out. I have a surprise for you. I will take you somewhere nice, Riley.
I don't know why. From all the courage that came, I finally managed to scream out to the woman.
You are not my mom!
As soon as I said that, the woman started banging on the door while screaming like crazy.
Come out, Riley! Come out now! Don't say no to your mama! Come out!
She grabbed the door handle and was about to twist it open, but I jumped on the door and locked it from the inside. The ghost girl in the mirror started crying, but instead of tears, black, thick liquid dripped down her hollow eyes.
Don't open the door, Riley! She is not your mother! Don't end up like me! Don't open the door!
Riley, don't listen to her! Open it! Open it now!
I can barely explain the state of my mind during that time. It was like two demonic voices talking inside my head, each trying to scare me to death to choose one of them. I felt my head was going to explode. I covered my ears with my hands and sat down on the floor, screaming and sobbing.
Make it stop! Make it stop! Dad, help me!
I don't know when I passed out, but I woke up at the hospital the next day. Luckily, my dad went looking for me when I didn't come back, and he heard my whimpering cries from the narrow passage. He broke down the door with security and got me out. But the story doesn't end here. When I told him everything that happened that moment, my dad called the stadium authorities and found out a horrible truth. A year back, a woman with a deranged mental state took her daughter to the stadium. During the game, she asked her daughter to follow her into the bathroom, where she had hidden a surprise for her. Once the daughter got inside, she choked her own child and then slit her wrists, breaking the glass of the bathroom window. It aches my heart to think the girl's soul is still stuck in that mirror because she died in front of it. She saved me from the haunting ghost of her deranged mother that day. I pray to God that she finally rests in peace.
A creature can be seen moving through what appears to be a basement while emitting growls. The thing seems to have spasms and even starts banging on the door and roof of the place in a rage. The story you are about to see is a dramatized animated version of this scary found footage. What I'm about to tell you happened a few years back when I was a 13-year-old boy. You see, I am the eldest among the 3 children of my parents. Back then, my brother Dennis was a 9-year-old boy, while my sister Marie was a 7-year-old girl. What I mean is that they were still young. I had already entered puberty and wanted to be treated differently. Anyway, that Halloween, Mom and Dad decided to take us to a family-friendly event. I wasn't entirely sure if I wanted to join them since I wouldn't be able to have fun with my friends that night, but I didn't argue much about it.
We're almost there, kids.
In the back of the car to my right was Dennis, dressed as a pirate, while Marie to my left looked like a fairy. My mom had insistently asked me to wear a costume that night as well, and I agreed, but only wore a sweater with a human skeleton design on it. Cool. When we arrived at the place, we all got out of the car and walked towards the huge building. After waiting in line for a while, Dad handed the tickets to the attendant, and we finally got in. There wasn't much space. In fact, we barely fit in the hallway. The light was dim, at least at first, and of course, it had creepy decorations everywhere. Pumpkins, ghosts, red lights, and many others. Once we reached the end of the hall, we had to turn left, where suddenly a man dressed in a black and red striped shirt, face disfigured in what appeared to be metal nails, lunged at us to scare us. And he succeeded, at least with my brother and my sister and my dad.
You guys are too easy to scare.
I'm not, Mom.
We'll see, Cody. Aren't you going to grab your candy, kids?
On the wall near the character was a basket with candy.
No, I don't want to.
I will help you, Marie.
My brother grabbed the candy, and we continued. I think that event was inspired by old movies that only my parents had seen. So along the way, we saw people dressed up as different characters over and over again. Dennis and Marie, scared, screamed each time, but I didn't. Since I was starting to get annoyed at how slow we were moving, I went ahead and passed through some black curtains.
Time to float.
Cody? Suddenly, I heard my dad's voice right behind me, and then the screams of Dennis and Marie. My mom, as well as my dad, started laughing. Are they making fun of us? I thought. Are they making fun of me? Is that what this is all about?
Aren't you going to get the candy, Cody?
She had asked my brother the same question when they had been scared. Of course, she was just making fun of me. In a fit of rage, I yelled, "I hate this!" Soon I turned and walked away from my family. But it didn't take long for someone to grab my shoulder. "Hey, Chuck, where are you going?" "Sorry. I didn't realize you were having a hard time with all this scary stuff. We can go if..." With great strength, I moved my shoulder and managed to get my dad to release me.
I hate this bullshit.
"Hey, don't say bad words."
I'm not a baby anymore.
This time, I ran away to avoid being caught. "Cody!" Nimbly, I moved between the people without paying attention to their screams or the monsters trying to scare me. I just wanted to get out of there. At a certain point, I noticed a part of a wall that seemed not to belong to the root, but was somewhat uncovered. As I approached, I saw that on the other side, there were some stairs going down, and at the end, a door. That must be the way out. Silently, I went in and properly closed the black curtains so they wouldn't see where I had gone. Afterwards, I went down the stairs and arrived in front of the huge metal door that was supposed to take me outside. Without waiting any longer, I tried to open it, but it was locked. No! Despite knowing it wouldn't work, I kept trying until I banged on the door in frustration. It took me a moment to understand that the sound I was hearing was coming from inside the room. Huh? This shit is still part of the event? I continued walking down the hall to the left. For a moment, I thought it was a dead end, but I soon realized that there was a door to the right. This one was made of wood, and it seemed to be old, so I managed to open it after struggling for a few seconds. The room was full of old furniture, but since there was a place I could continue walking at the back, I decided to go in and close the door. I was about to start walking when what appeared to be a bald, thin, pale, naked person appeared from behind a metal column. My heart started beating excessively fast. This isn't scary. You know that, right? It's weird. This place sucks. Stop! I want to leave already. Suddenly, the creature began to jump and hit the ground. Seeing him like that, uncontrollable and furious, gave me a very bad feeling. So I turned around and tried to open the door. But it was locked. Shit! No! No! A chill ran down my spine the instant I noticed that the creature had stopped screaming. That's when I dove for the shelf to my right so I could get to the other side without having to face it. Shit. Suddenly, I felt the creature grab my ankle with one of its long, thin hands. Let go, you fucking weirdo! As soon as I kicked it and got free, I kept running until I reached the big metal door. This time, being inside, I was able to open it. I went out and closed it as fast as I could, as I felt my heart beating extremely fast. Fuck! Crying due to fear, I went upstairs and walked away from there. I don't remember exactly what happened next. I just know that I ran and eventually met my family.
Cody!
I told them what had happened, and together we went to speak with the employees of the event. He was bald, thin, pale and naked. You must have limits. How could you do that to him? He's no longer a child, but he is not an adult either.
Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. We don't have anything like that here.
To this day, I wonder if it was all a joke or if there really is a creature locked in that basement. The next story is inspired by the blurred image on the screen. Well, we don't want to disclose the image just yet, so stay tuned to the end of the story to see what the story was inspired by. Teenagers are superficial, aren't they? They are obsessed with showing they are the best at something. No one wants to be left behind, or at least that was how things were in my town. Still, no adult believed that an argument between some teens would end in a disaster. Back then, I thought it all started one day between the break between classes. I loved playing basketball, especially with my friends Brian and Ray. So, we were doing that as usual. Brian was the best by far, as he was tall and strong. But when he failed, he used to make it big. I don't remember exactly what happened on that occasion, but the ball did end up hitting someone. Harold, who was sitting on a bench near the basketball court. Ouch! It didn't take long for Brian to approach our classmate. Are you okay? Yeah, I think so. Couldn't you be more careful, Brian? I am. It's not my fault if you're always sitting there, Harold. Can't you go to another place? But I like being here. Then don't bother us. Stay here knowing you can get hit or go watch your shit somewhere else. Put him in his place, Brian. Even though Harold was our classmate, I hadn't really talked to him much. The only thing I knew about him was that he liked anime and was quite lonely and quiet. But after all, he stood out because of his peculiar appearance. Pale skin, long black hair, and green eyes. It was precisely for this reason that the spiteful expression which he had looked at Brian before getting up almost sent a shiver down my spine. We continued playing, but I was left with a bad feeling. For the next few weeks, Harold didn't sit there, and I truly believed he would never do so again. One Monday morning, sometime after that, the headmistress of the high school came to our class.
Students, I'm sorry to announce your classmate Brian has been missing since last night.
That was the beginning of chaos. Interrogations, searches, and news on TV. It was all very confusing and scary, but the worst part was undoubtedly having to continue with our lives as if nothing was happening. But I just couldn't. I mean, one of my best friends was missing, and I didn't feel one bit safe anywhere. Come on. I told you I don't want to, Ray. It's not the same without Brian. So you're never going to play basketball again? Come on, let's do this. Try to forget all the shit that's going on. Okay. When we got to the basketball court, Harold was there on the bench Brian had kicked him off of. For some reason, Ray walked up to him. What are you doing here? Harold glanced up to see him, but this time, he didn't look nervous. Do you care? My friend remained silent for a few seconds. You know, you shouldn't be here. I don't give a shit what you think, Ray. Brian's not here anymore, so I'm not moving. How dare you bring that up? In a blink of an eye, my friend had lunged at Harold to hit him. Ray, stop! He turned to look at me and said, Shut the fuck up. Are you seriously going to let this freak do as he pleases? Little shit. Who's the little shit now, Ray? Calmly, Harold walked away from us. I thought Ray was going to chase him, but he stayed there. Can you get up? Let's go to the... No, we're not going to tell anyone. Why not? I'm going to give him what he deserves myself. All day until the end of class, I could feel the anger emanating from Ray, which was making me really nervous. I couldn't help but think, what is he planning to do? What if he gets into real trouble? Steven, huh? Will you help me or not? Get that idea out of your head. Just tell the teacher and it will be enough. You know it won't. Not for me. I won't. Do whatever you want. I could imagine my friend was going to beat the hell out of Harold. So as he walked behind our classmate, I also followed, without him noticing. Huh? At some point, the three of us started to head deeper into the forest. My heart started beating faster than it should at just the sound of a branch. I was too nervous to be true, but I mean, what if there was something out there? Anyway, when I turned to see Ray, he was gone. Shit, where are you? I started walking without really having a direction, until I began to hear some voices in the distance. What the fuck are you doing? Soon, I approached the place where my friend's voice came from, always taking care not to be noticed. But it wasn't that difficult anyway, since what I saw left me speechless. Harold was in a small cave, and next to him, leaning against the wall of the place, was Brian.
What is it? Are you scared?
Or rather, Brian's rotting corpse. Don't you dare! But the worst part was that Harold's teeth were obviously dirty.
He doesn't taste good at all, if you're wondering.
The moment I listened to him and confirmed my suspicions, I couldn't take it any longer. Damn, freak! You're gonna rot in jail! Steven!
I won't. Do you know why? Because now, thanks to Brian's meat, I'm stronger than you.
You're out of your mind. Harold smiled once more and then turned to my friend.
I'm even stronger than you, Ray. It seems you were right.
I felt as if my heart stopped in that instant I heard him. Ray soon turned to see me. His eyes were wide open. What were you right about, Ray? For a few seconds, that felt like hours. We were all silent. As he laughed, a shiver ran down my spine. Brian was the strongest, you know. The most agile, the best. I needed his body to do better. So, I did what I had to do. You? But this son of a bitch had to take what was mine and ruin everything. Seems like the threats weren't enough for you, right, Harold? I'll have to make them real. Suddenly, Ray ran towards Harold, and they both disappeared from my sight as soon as they entered the cave. I wanted to move. I wanted to do something, but I was paralyzed. It was the moment I saw Ray come out of the cave with that look of vengeance on his face that I started running. Steven! That day, I was lucky to be able to get out of the forest before him, since I was the fastest. Of course, it didn't take long for me to inform the police as soon as some people helped me. Now, after Ray was jailed for the murder of Brian and Harold, my family and I are moving to another place, as life there just became unbearable. The story was inspired by the character Orochimaru from Naruto.
My best friend Harper and I went to the Bahamas and got caught up in bad weather. Feeling bored, Harper took me to this tanning salon located near a straw market inside a narrow alley. The shop was really old and needed maintenance. As we entered, we found it empty and started looking around for its owner. "Hello, is anybody here?" Harper called out, but no one responded. We were checking the shop out when I felt a breath on my shoulder.
Hello there!
I backed out, seeing this sketchy guy appear from nowhere. The man smiled and said,
Didn't mean to scare you, madam. Welcome to Sunray's Tanning Salon.
This is your shop?
Yes, madam. Are you looking for an appointment?
Yeah, for me and my friend here.
Very good. Very good. May I ask, where are you from?
California. Why?
Just my curiosity. Please, come with me.
The man escorted us to the hallway, and Harper and I exchanged a worried look.
I don't like him at all. Well, we're not here to date him, so shut up.
As usual, Harper shut me up, and the man took us to a room. He opened the door and gestured for us to go in.
There. These are our tanning beds. Are you familiar with using one?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Then set your favorite temperature, close the lid, and you will be baking in the sun.
There were 2 tanning beds, side by side, in the room.
Finally.
Saying this, Harper tied her hair into a bun and lay inside the tanning bed wearing her bikini. I was still suspicious about everything, so I decided to keep an eye out by waiting for Harper to finish first. I didn't know why it didn't feel right to me. As soon as Harper closed the lid, smoke started filling the room.
Oh my god! What is this? What's happening?
I rushed toward Harper's tanning bed and lifted the lid up, but by that time the room was filled with smoke. I started coughing terribly. The smoke made my eyes and nose burn. Slowly, my head started to feel heavy. I immediately realized this was all a trap. Harper was already passed out as the gas hit her right away, and I too was falling into a trance. I covered my mouth with my hands, trying my best not to breathe in the gas anymore. My legs began to shake and I fell to the floor, but I didn't faint yet. The smoke stopped after a few more seconds, and I was still conscious, just too drowsy to move my arms and legs. I understood the gas was a weapon to make women faint inside this tanning salon, so that sketchy man could carry on whatever evil intentions he was hiding. Footsteps started approaching the room as I lay on the floor with my unconscious friend.
Madam! Are you sleeping already?
The man peeked in and saw me on the floor. I quickly closed my eyes so he would think I had fainted too. He came close to me and started dragging me out of the room, grabbing my legs.
Your white skin is so valuable, madam. Please, don't mind. This is just how I earn my bread. So many wackos are eager to pay high price for your shiny white skin. And look at you dumb witches, going to tanning salons to ruin that. Not on my watch.
This man was a total nut job. He kept saying all this to me, thinking I couldn't hear him. After dragging me down the hallway, he stopped in front of the counter. Realizing this was my opportunity, I grabbed the metal vase from the corner and somehow picked up my half-awake and half-paralyzed body. I was still feeling numb in one leg, so I kind of limped towards the man to knock him out, when something hit me hard on the back of my head.
Ah!
Hello, bestie.
Harper, I thought you fainted too.
No, I didn't. I just held my breath, that's all. I fell to the ground in complete shock. Harper was standing right behind me with a metal rod in her hand. The man, too, turned around to find me and Harper behind him.
I didn't pay you or come all this way so you could let this witch escape. What the hell were you doing? She was all set to bash you from behind.
I'm sorry, madam. I was just looking for the basement keys. That's where I operate, so...
Get the keys, you moron. Harper, what's happening here? You know this man?
Oh, don't be so surprised, Luna. I made a deal with this freak.
Deal? What kind of deal?
That I was going to lure you to him, and he'll sell your skin on the dark web. He's been doing this for years now. How stupid of you to believe I was actually taking you to a tanning salon.
But you're my best friend. Why are you doing this to me?
Really? Are we best friends, Luna? Then why the hell did you sleep with my Josh at the Christmas party, huh? Why, you witch? Saying this, Harper slapped me hard on my cheek. A shiver ran down my spine as I realized this was all my doing. Karma is real, and I am being punished for backstabbing my own best friend.
I'm sorry, Harper, but trust me, it was just one time. We were drunk. It didn't mean anything. I never spoke to him after that, I swear. I don't care. I would never have done this to you, Luna. Never in my life.
Found it. Madam, here's the keys. The basement.
The man handed Harper the key. She told him to lock the main door from the inside. The man did exactly what she said. Then they started dragging me to the basement. I cried, screamed, and tried to free myself from their grasp, but they were more prepared than me. The basement had an operating table and a bunch of surgical tools lying near it on a table. I knew my time had come, and no one could get me out of this situation, except myself.
Please, Harper, let me go. I promise I'll disappear from your life. You'll never have to see my face, please. I won't be seeing your face anyway, witch.
Saying this, she told the man to grab my hands tightly while she went to get a knife to silence me forever.
You are the prettiest white girl I will be skinning alive.
He grinned while scaring the hell out of me, but I was adamant too. I definitely had made a mistake, but I was also not ready to pay such a high price. I lunged at the man and bit his wrist.
Ah! She bit me! She bit me!
He immediately let go of me, and I ran for the basement door.
Don't let her run away!
I heard Harper scream, but I closed the basement door before either of them could come out. Luckily, Harper had left the key in the door, so I locked them in. They started banging on the door and cursing me, but I ran. I ran for my life. I got upstairs and executed this perfect plan. I turned all the tanning beds in each room to their highest temperatures, so they would eventually blow up. Then I waited in the alley for the salon to catch fire. It eventually did. The fire spread all over, even to the basement, and that's when I began hearing two screaming voices. Once they faded away, I ran out to the street, screaming for help. The employees of the 2 or 3 shops that were still open came rushing out and called the fire department. No one doubted me for a second, as I already had scratches on my body and a wound at the back of my head. I told the cops about the psycho man and how he drugged me and my best friend so he could sell our skins on the dark web. The cops found enough evidence against him and were able to link him with a few missing person cases of tourists. My family and the world believe I was the lucky one who lived, and for Harper, it just wasn't her lucky day.
For as long as I can remember, I have always been a person who believes in miracles. I remember as a child happily watching people win the lottery, meet the love of their lives in the most unexpected ways, or reunite with distant family and friends by accident. I always believed that sooner or later, I would experience something impossible, a miracle. At 44 years old, and with a life without many anecdotes worth remembering, today I can say that I lived something impossible. What I never expected was for that miracle to be bad. This happened only a few years ago. Too little time to have been able to overcome it. At the time, I was the janitor of an American football team that, for obvious reasons, I cannot mention. I can only say that, despite being known, it is still a somewhat humble team. Everyone on the team is a good person. They never made me feel that I was less than just because of my job. And even though I don't work with them anymore, I will always remember them fondly. What I will not remember fondly is the club's locker room and what haunted me in it at night. It all started one Tuesday night. Even though the team hadn't played, I had to prepare and clean all the facilities for the next day. Until a noise startled me. A loud noise came from the main player's locker room. It couldn't be a thief. We were a very humble club, and we didn't have to be robbed. I approached with great curiosity, and to my surprise, the door was opening and closing by itself. Terrified, I ran away. I tried not to think about it, but this started to happen every night I was there. I never got too close. I wasn't the least bit curious as to what was going on. It didn't excite me at all, but I was worried that something would happen to the players. So I went to talk to my boss.
Hey, Jacob, what brings you here? Sir, I need to talk about something important. Oh my god. If it's about the supposed ghost in the locker room, I have more important things to do. Sir, someone has to take care of that. It's dangerous for the rest of the staff and players. You realize it might just be an air vent, right? It's all closed. In that place, there's no air coming in. The door is not broken either, and it only happens at night. Okay, you seem to be very convinced, aren't you? Yes, I am. Excellent, but you must understand how crazy this sounds to me. Why don't you film what's going on so I know what we're dealing with? But, sir, I can't believe you otherwise, man. I'm sorry.
The idea of going into the locker room or signing whatever had happened there didn't appeal to me at all. But it had already happened several nights. What could happen? As the night came, the noises were not long in coming. I put down my cleaning stuff and took out my cell phone. I started filming the banging, as always, in an inexplicable way. At that moment, I thought that wasn't enough, that somehow my boss was going to deny to my face what was going on. So against my better judgment, I went into the locker room with the camera on. Nothing out of the ordinary was happening in the locker room, but something wasn't right. A strange coldness ran through the whole place. My body was tense and it was hard to breathe. I felt I didn't belong here. I turned towards the door to leave, but the door slammed in my face and pulled me back. Suddenly, the lights went out and the room went into absolute darkness. Without my getting up from the floor, footsteps began to sound at my side, slowly approaching. I tried to get up, but my body did not react. Was something preventing me from getting up, or was I just so afraid I couldn't move? The footsteps were getting closer and closer until all of a sudden, they stopped in front of me.
What the hell was that? My leg!
I didn't understand anything of what was happening, but what was happening in my leg, I didn't need to understand. An indescribable pain went through my knee. I looked to see if I had fractured it, but there was no blood. I started to crawl out of the place, but the light cut out again. And unlike the previous times, this time, it didn't come back. I crawled further and further using all my strength. In the meantime, I felt footsteps walking at the same speed as me, walking beside me. Whatever was there was breathing very close to me. Meanwhile, I could see absolutely nothing. I just kept walking away while crying, praying that nothing would happen to me. As I was walking up the stairs to the exit, the lights came back on, and my breathing let up. I took one last look as I walked out and gasped. The thing I had seen in the locker room was watching me back low, and the worst part was that I wasn't alone. The place was surrounded by them, almost identical to each other, all staring at me. I walked away as best I could and did not go back to that place. A week later, my knee was a little better, but it still hurt. I went to see my boss, and it turns out he had already seen the footage. They found my camera in the locker room. I must have dropped it when the power went out. My boss saw the door and blamed it on the wind again, ignoring anything I said. It was like I was in denial. That same day, I left the job and never set foot in the entire facility again. I now try to make a living as best I can. Never again did I expect to live the impossible. I am now satisfied with living a normal life without any surprises. I never again pray for a miracle to happen, because it may happen. My friend Ricky owned an antique shop that he inherited from his father. Often he would go to places in search of the junkyard and abandoned locations to collect valuable antiques. And later, he would sell them. He called these trips treasure hunting. I accompanied him to some, but that one time, I was working in my barnyard when Ricky called me.
Yeah? Are you free today? I have to finish this wine cabinet today, man. I'll do it tomorrow. I need you here, man. I found an abandoned factory in the woods. Let's leave within like 10 minutes, or else it's gonna be difficult to come back during sunlight. Oh, fine.
I freshened up and put on a new t-shirt. Told Mom that I would be late for dinner. I kept my flashlight and hunting knife inside my jacket pocket. I drove my scooter to Ricky's store. He was closing the shop when I reached. He had a backpack and a metal detector.
You ready for an adventure, sonny boy? Get in. One day you're gonna get in trouble exploring these sketchy places. That's why I called for you.
With a big smile, he got on my scooter and we started driving to the hiking trails. There was a deep forest at the end of the town. People would go hiking there. The sky was cloudy and it started raining lightly after a few minutes. We could hear crickets and frogs singing in the woods. I parked my scooter near the trail, right under a tree, and followed Ricky into the woods. The deeper we went, the sound of the forest started to grow louder. After walking for 15 minutes straight, we stopped by an old rusty gate. Ricky pushed the gate and said,
"Let's go. I found this place yesterday. I had no clue this giant was sleeping here."
Ricky wasn't wrong. The factory did appear as a sleeping giant. It had broken windows, wild saplings growing over the damp walls. A stinky, dusty air surrounded that place. A bunch of crows flew over our heads to a dead tree in the corner. In a few words, the place gave me chills.
Whoa, this place is spooky. I know, right? I heard a fire broke out here, and no one got out alive. Bloody hell. Why would you... Look at your face, dummy. That was not funny, Rick with a D. I just found this place. I have no idea what happened here. Anything can happen inside. Be prepared.
Ricky made another funny face, and I ignored him as usual. Before stepping inside the factory, we wanted to check out the entire property. So we started roaming outside. At the back of the factory, we found a heap of scrapped items lying in the dumpster. And there was broken furniture lying next to it, too. We started going through the stuff. The metal detector beeped crazily once it hit the heap of garbage. After a tiresome search for half an hour, we found a bunch of silver plates and an antique clock with broken glass.
I don't think we're gonna find anything here.
Please, help me!
Who's that? I think that's a woman.
Please, help me!
We followed the sound and found this small area with 4 to 5 locked storage units.
It's been days since I've eaten. I need to go to the bathroom. This bleeding won't stop. Please help me. Help me get out.
Oh my god! Where are you?
I'm inside this dark place. I couldn't see. He had me blindfolded when he brought me here.
What? Who had you blindfolded?
The man who gave me a lift from the highway. I swear he'll kill me. Please, you've got to help me.
Rick and I have turned pale by then. We were scared like hell.
We should call the cops now. Yeah, you're right. You call the cops. I'll break down this lock.
I immediately dialed 911 and told them about finding a girl locked in some abandoned factory. The cops said they will reach us in 15 minutes. Meanwhile, Rick started hitting the lock with a big rock. After 4 to 5 hits, the lock broke down and we could finally see what was inside. A girl was wearing a jacket and t-shirt paired with dusty jeans. A gust of wind hit our nose and we realized the storage unit was reeking of sweat and urine. The girl was lying on a worn-out mattress. Her hands were tied to the back and her legs were tied too. She just couldn't move. Seeing us, she broke down into tears. That's when a gunshot hit the tree right beside me.
Holy mother of God! Who is that?
Rick and I immediately dodged and got inside the unit, closing the door. As the shutter was going down, we could see a freaky-looking man running towards us at full speed, holding a gun and screaming.
You can't save her! This is none of your business! I will kill you three, one after the other!
The shutter went down, and the man bumped onto it at that very moment. Rick and I pushed the door down with our feet, giving all our effort so that the man couldn't open it. He banged on the metal door, saying,
This is none of your business! That girl is mine! Open the goddamn door and let me have her!
The cops are on their way! You are going to rot in jail, freak!
You called the cops?
Damn right we did! This girl is going to get out of here alive! And if anyone's gonna get beaten up, that's you, jerk!
I will come for you two! I swear on Satan, I will come for you fools! But before that, I will meet you, Sarah!
Burn in hell!
Just then, we heard cop car sirens at a distance. The man stopped banging and his running footsteps slowly faded away. That day, we didn't find any treasure, but we did save that poor girl. She was kidnapped by this strange man named Todd while hiking. He drugged her, then tied her up and brought her into this abandoned factory, kept her prisoner in this storage unit, and tortured her slowly, day by day. One time, she tried to escape, so he cut her arms off. The girl was reunited with her family, and the man was also arrested by the cops within a week. He was captured from a small pub in the city. The cops also came to know this man, Todd, was a serial killer, and he had already killed 3 girls. 2 of them had been reported as missing person cases a month ago. Rick and I are glad that we went to that place. Otherwise, the innocent girl would have surely ended up dead. My mom and dad had the perfect love story to begin with. They met during high school, fell in love, went to prom, and got married as well. But after I was born, things fell apart. One night, my mom and I came home from the mall earlier than we anticipated and heard sounds in the upstairs bedroom. Thinking someone had broken into our house, we went upstairs. As my mom opened the door, she found my dad secretly cheating on her with his secretary, Brenda. Being caught red-handed, both of them got embarrassed and highly awkward. I still remember my mom's reaction. She was silent and calm, yet her eyes were filled with pain. Tears rolled down them eventually, but not a single cry came out of her mouth. My dad left the house and us the very next morning. But since that night, my mom changed forever. I don't know why she started to hate herself, especially the color of her skin. She would stand in front of the mirrors for hours and stare at herself with a freaky face. I even woke up one night and came downstairs to get water. I heard the kitchen tap running, but as I entered, I saw my mom washing her hands vigorously. She was scrubbing her skin with sharp fingernails.
Mom! What are you doing?
Eddie, I don't understand why my skin is so pale. I mean, I want it to turn chocolatey smooth, just like hers.
Like whom? What are you talking about?
Like Brenda. I want skin like her. I want skin like her.
Mumbling this same line over and over, my mom made her way back to her room, and I realized what changed. Brenda was an African-American woman, and my mom thought if she could change herself to look like Brenda, my dad might come back to her. But to do that, she went to extremes. Within the next few weeks, she started eating charcoal with every meal. Yes, my mom literally ate ashes. She would mix that in her soup, apply that to her toast like jam. Her tongue turned black during this process, and within the next few days, she got very sick. When the charcoal didn't work, she started coloring herself with paint, but nothing could make her skin dark permanently. One day, on our way to home from the local grocery store, we saw an advertisement for a tanning place that just opened down the block. All hell broke loose. My mom started going to the tanning salon every week, I remember the first day she came home after tanning her skin. A creepy, slick smile hung on her lip, as if she had finally achieved something. Her skin was copper red as she watched herself in front of the mirror for hours. She even sang to herself like a 9-year-old child.
I look so pretty. I look so pretty.
Slowly, her tanning appointments started to increase. She would go to the tanning salon almost every other day, and due to this, her skin started losing its natural texture. Not just that, she started having irritation on her skin. One morning, I woke up hearing the sound of her crying, so I went to her room and knocked on the door.
Mom, are you okay? Mom, is everything all right?
No, Eddie. I have blisters all over my body. They're popping and it's painful. Oh God, I have done nothing wrong. Why are you punishing me?
Suddenly, her crying changed into a weird thudding noise. I couldn't keep calm and opened the door to check on her. My mom was behaving totally crazy. She was banging her head on the wall like some lunatic. Her body was filled with rashes and scratches. It seemed she vigorously scratched herself with her fingernails out of the skin irritation.
What are you doing?
I ran towards her and grabbed her shoulders to pull her away from the wall. She turned her face towards me, and what I saw gave me goosebumps. Her face was horrible. Excessive tanning had blemished her skin. She had lumps and dark spots all over her face. Chunks of skin were peeling off her cheek, revealing the red, sensitive, fleshy layer underneath. It was as if my mom suffered a severe burn.
What have you done to your face? Stop trying to be like Brenda. You are losing it, Mom.
Hearing Brenda's name from my mouth, her face changed. Her eyes ignited with anger, and she kept staring at me without even blinking. Feeling creeped out by her evil stare, I screamed again.
What? Talk to me. Don't be like this for a man who never cared about you.
My mom slapped me right across my cheek, which I didn't see coming.
Shut up! Don't talk about your dad like that. We were high school sweethearts. I was the first woman in his life. You know nothing, Eddie. He loves me more than anyone else. He's just a little lost because that witch Brenda is controlling his mind. I'm going to teach that hag a lesson, I swear.
Saying this, she took her coat and left the house. As I stood there, shocked and broken, I could see my family reaching the end. Since I was a kid, my mom never laid her hands on me. Even if I got scolded by Dad, she was the only one who loved me and cared for me, no matter what. But that day, she slapped me and didn't even feel bad about it. Her infuriating obsession with my dad's mistress turned her into a completely different person. Feeling shattered, I went for a ride on my bike to clear my mind. I decided I will not come home until my mom gives me a call. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And when it was around 11 p.m. at night, I returned home. As soon as I entered the house, I could smell gasoline.
God, Mom, what are you up to now?
I realized the smell was coming from our basement. I rushed through the stairs and immediately froze in fear. Brenda was tied to a chair, and my mom was showering her with gasoline. She was pouring cans of flammable liquid all over Brenda's body.
Please, let me go. I promise I'll leave your husband and you'll never see me again. It's a little too late for that, Brenda. You've ruined my life, and now it's payback time.
Holy crap! Mom!
Get out of here, Eddie! Don't try to stop me now! This witch has destroyed our family! I will have my revenge!
She punched Brenda, bruising her eye. Brenda started crying now, but my mom grinned watching her being so miserable like that. She took out a lighter and said,
Now you'll be ashes in no time. I hate you, Brenda, and I hate the skin you wear. I'm going to kill you, and then my love will come back to me. Everything will be all right. No, stop!
I jumped and grabbed her hand to take the lighter away. My mom kept screaming.
Let me go, Eddie! This witch is gonna die tonight. Let me go!
For God's sake, stop this madness! Enough!
We started struggling. My mom put all her strength to free her hands from my grasp, but I snatched the ladder right away, and just then, I heard the sirens of the cop cars. My dad came to the basement with 2 cops. Everyone was relieved to find out Brenda was alive and that my mom wasn't a murderer after all. The cops arrested my mom and rescued Brenda. Even though I saved my dad's mistress, I couldn't save my mom. After innumerable charges, such as kidnapping and an attempt to murder, the state decided to put my mom in a mental institution. Brenda left the country, and my dad went with her too. I realized you can never force someone to care for and to love you. I visit my mom in the mental institution every week. She is totally a lost case now. She walks around in her tiny cell, scratching her head and looking at her arms and legs, deliberately rubbing her skin as if she is desperate to get out of her own body.
How far would you go for a few minutes of fame? Would you be willing to leave your family, your friends, take someone else's life, your own life? The first time I heard that question was from the mouth of my boss when I was just 24 years old. I was much younger and more ambitious than I am now. My dream was to be the best journalist in the country. I wanted to be on every newscast, in every newspaper, in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You sure about this, Kenny?
Claire, my source is 100% real.
I don't know. Even if Red Tarzan is willing to give us an interview, would it be interesting?
All the UFC fans will go crazy. Dotsick was one of the most violent and ruthless fighters in the ring. Nobody knows what his life about. Some think he's dead, others think he's back in Russia, and they'll be surprised to see that he's still here.
What have I got to lose?
Yes!
By the way, new chain?
Oh, yeah. Ever since my grandmother survived the operation, I've been wearing it. Don't make me hide it.
Huh. Cute. You can keep it.
A few days later, Kenny and I headed for the meeting point the man gave us. The drive down the road was long and tedious, but that only fueled my spirit of adventure. We got out of my truck, and in front of us, we saw an abandoned factory. Kenny looked terrified, but I already knew what we were in for. I had looked up the coordinates on Google Maps before we came.
I'm not so sure I want to come here anymore.
I felt the opposite. I was very excited.
I'm a little scared too, Kenny.
I lied.
But don't worry, this is what journalists are supposed to do. Besides, this man won't do anything to us. He knows we're coming to see him, and that we probably told someone else we were here.
Then why is he calling us to a place as empty as this?
Let's go in and find out.
When I opened the door and walked in, I felt like I was entering another world. The roof was broken, and unlike outside, the whole place was trashed, littered with food wrappers, newspapers, and beer bottles. Inside the place, there were 3 young men. 2 of them had their faces covered, and the tallest and largest was bare-faced and wearing a shirt that clashed with the scenery. Red Tarzan had dressed up for the interview. As soon as he saw us, he greeted us with a huge smile and gave a quick look at the other 2 young men, who left the way we came in.
Friends, sit down. I was waiting for you.
Thank you for your hospitality. You are Red Tarzan, aren't you?
I don't know who else would be this size. Yes, I am.
Nice to meet you. I'm Claire, and this is my cameraman, Kenny. Is it okay if we start right away?
Of course. I like straightforward women.
I smiled at him, but his comment disgusted me.
Where have you been? Many fanatics think you went to Russia, or that you were dead.
I've been everywhere. Killing people, robbing some places, stepping on puppies.
His answer caught me totally off guard.
Oh, in a metaphorical sense, or?
What does metaphorically mean?
I mean, you didn't kill.
Yes, I did.
This recording we're making is being transmitted directly to the studio. Aren't you afraid of being arrested?
Not at all. By the time you guys upload that, I'll be gone. And if the police come now, well, I'll have to take them hostage.
Claire, this is getting out of hand.
And why are you telling us this, Red?
Because I love the cameras. I love television. I may not have had a successful career in the UFC, but somehow I'll be famous, and no one will stop me.
So, how did you kill them?
What? Why would you ask him that question?
At the beginning, I was messier. After a while, I would break their legs and arms, and while they were on the ground defenseless, I would make them watch me eat them. I would tear off their skin with my teeth and devour them while they watched me.
You're lying. I studied psychology. It's very easy to tell when someone's lying. I had never studied psychology. This was another lie.
Are you calling me a liar?
Furious, he grabbed my neck with one hand and started to squeeze.
Nobody calls me a liar.
Even though he only used one hand, I couldn't get free. The man had a lot of strength. I was running out of air in my lungs until, in an impulse of pain, my attacker released me. On the other side was Kenny, who had broken a wooden chair on the man's back.
What did you just do?
Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God!
God! God! Is that a cross? You know what, you fucking asshole? I detest people who believe in God. I detest Catholic people, and I detest inferior people like you.
Please don't hurt me. I haven't done anything to you.
It should not be to God that you pray, but to me, my son. I, the great red-haired Tarzan, the son of God Perrin. Those who believe in Jesus, Mossad's spy, will be judged to eternal flame. I will be the one to send you to purgatory, sinner, and for the good of your soul, you will leave behind all the chains of sin and join the true God.
No! Please, no! I don't want to die!
Kenny! As they both fell to the floor, I threw down the taser that I had brought in case something went wrong and went to lift my partner. With great effort, I lifted him into the car, and in the distance, I heard a furious roar. I accelerated the car as much as I could, and when I turned around, he was behind us, running in our direction from farther and farther away, until after a few minutes, we lost him.
Hey, thanks again, Claire. You saved me.
You're welcome, kid. You know I wasn't going to leave you there.
The boss wants to talk to you, though. He's furious.
I know.
You know you almost killed Kevin, right? I shouldn't have trusted you. You're a rookie. You don't have what it takes.
I know, boss.
When I asked you what you'd be willing to sacrifice, you said you'd sacrifice everything. Yet you didn't sacrifice the life of a damn cameraman!
Sorry, boss. It was the perfect plan. I knew Red Tarzan hated Catholics, and that Kenny would wear his chain. I knew that if I provoked him enough, Tarzan would explode. And I also knew that under pressure, his schizophrenic traits would come out. Everything was perfect. I just couldn't bring myself to let him die.
Claire, it was a live death. Do you know how that would have benefited us? You didn't even get the tape of the interview back. Girl, rethink if this career is for you. In the meantime, you'll keep covering small events.
Yes, boss. Sorry. Kenny quit within weeks because of mistreatment at work. Me, I never had an opportunity like that again. Today, I'm an entertainment journalist. Sometimes I think about my decision that day, and I don't regret it. But you know what? A part of me, however small, regrets not letting Red kill Kenny.
I was walking home after being beaten up by the popular school bully Trevor when I heard a pair of footsteps following me. I looked back and saw a tall guy with red hair standing on the sidewalk. The moment our eyes met, I recognized him. He looked like Nagato from my favorite manga series, Naruto. He had long red hair and a very skinny build. I could almost count his ribs underneath his white shirt. Needless to say, I was shocked to see the guy and for a minute couldn't speak. He slowly walked up to me and said in a calm voice, "Do you need any help?" What? No, I was just tying my shoelaces. Help with other things. What other thing? He didn't talk for a few seconds, just kept staring at me with an expressionless face. I couldn't hold my curiosity anymore. Are you a fan of Naruto? Not Naruto, Nagato. You know he's not real. He is for me. You didn't answer my question. Do you need help? I honestly don't know what you are talking about. Trevor, do you want to teach him a lesson? Do you want vengeance? How do you know about Trevor? You ask all the wrong questions. Saying this, he started walking into this dark, narrow alley on the left. I couldn't ignore him even if I wanted to. I don't know why he didn't scare me at all. He was weird as someone can be, roaming around the streets dressing up like a fictional character, but still, I followed him. Where do you live? In the woods. Do you live alone? I'm never alone. I always have pain. Now he spoke like Nagato as well. I got goosebumps hearing him say it. It was like a fairy tale turned true. He stopped and turned towards me. Those who do not understand true pain can never understand true peace. Marvin will never know pain until he understands it. But how would I make him understand? You will have to lure him into the woods behind your school playground. I will be there waiting. Now, go home, as long as you have one. He went further into the alley and then disappeared into the darkness. I stood there thinking, what just happened? Did it happen? Was I dreaming, or some random stranger looking like Nagato agreed to help me to get rid of my bully? The next day, I went to school with lots of excitement. Today was the day I will finally get my revenge. My plan was simple. I will pick on Trevor as soon as the classes end, and then we'll run into the woods. Stupid Trevor will follow me, and my friend Nagato will be there to give him a taste of his own medicine. I reached school and got done with classes without interacting with anyone. Trevor was, as usual, picking on a new kid, and luckily, he didn't notice me the entire time. Once the class bell rang and everyone came out to the school corridor, I walked straight up to Trevor. He was standing at the corner laughing with his evil sidekicks. Hey, Trevor. Woohoo! Someone grew balls today. What's up, moron? I just wanted to tell you what a pathetic fart face you are. You think you are tough, but actually, you are just another scary kid who still wets his bed when his dad yells at him. Drop dead, you jerk. Saying this, I spat on his face and started running. You little pig! I heard Trevor's heavy footsteps behind me. He may be strong, but I was fast. Like a cheetah, I ran and ran until the dry leaves touched my feet and the woods engulfed me. When I finally stopped, I could see bushy trees surrounding me. Crickets were chirping and night owls began hooting. But where's Nagato? After a few seconds, Trevor came running too and stopped once he found me. In a panting but evil voice he said, All this freak show didn't do any good to you. Who will save you now, moron? Do you know what I will do to you? I will punch your guts to a pulp. You picked on the wrong guy. My eyes desperately searched for Nagato. Where is he when I need him? I screamed to the depths of the woods. He's here! We are here! Who are you calling out to? God? He sure isn't coming to save your ass. Trevor lunged at me and punched me in the face. I fell on the dirt and tasted blood in my mouth. He then kicked me in the stomach so hard that everything in front of my eyes went blurry. Poor Justin. Can't even stand up to his bully. Trevor was going on with his insult and I was on the verge of collapsing. That's when I saw him. He was standing right behind Trevor, but he didn't notice. Nagato, you came. What? Trevor looked at me with surprised eyes and then looked behind him. What are you saying? Who is Nagato? He is my friend. He is going to bring you pain. You will get what you deserve, Trevor. Trevor looked around him once more and started laughing like I just cracked the biggest joke. Are you this delusional that you believe some anime character is going to come to your rescue? God, you're such a loser. Nagato smiled at me, but I was so confused. Why can't Trevor see him? He is standing right there. Nagato looked at me and then looked at a rock lying on the ground. Get up and pick up that rock. What? Why are you? Pick up that rock and smash his skull. You want revenge? Then you must take it with your hand. Now get up! I could see Trevor getting all confused. He was probably thinking that I am insane for talking to some made-up character. Okay, this is enough. I am done with your... Before he could finish, I grabbed the rock from the ground and hit him on the head as hard as I could. The smashing sound of his skull gave me such a relief. His big fat body fell to the ground. Trevor was silenced forever. I shook off the dust from my school uniform and looked at Nagato. He was standing there with his same expressionless face. There's a river down that edge. Throw the rock in it and go home. If anyone asks you, tell them Trevor punched you and you somehow ran away, saving yourself from him. Tell them you saw him going into the woods with a sketchy-looking man and you don't know anything else. Okay, when will I see you again? When the time is right. This hatred binds us together. It's been 3 years now. I am all set to graduate high school. I haven't seen Nagato since then. The cops found Trevor's body 2 days later. They questioned every kid in school about the day Trevor went missing. Many kids told them how Trevor used to be a huge bully. I told them exactly what Nagato told me to. The case went on for a few more months. Many people accused the suspect, who based on my statement, lured Trevor into the woods, but the murderer was never found. So many kids in school kind of felt relieved that Trevor was gone. His parents left town, and this mystery remained unsolved. It still confuses me why Trevor couldn't see Nagato that day. I mean, I know he's not real, but he's very real to me. Growing up as a kid, I loved wrestling. I and my dad would always watch wrestling matches together. He was a big fan of UFC. I loved watching all the moves and tactics the wrestlers would pull off during fights. We couldn't afford live tickets, though. My dad was the only one who worked, while my mom took care of me and my 5 other siblings. We weren't poor by all means. We just couldn't afford to go and spend extra money on things like that. But I was so happy the day before my birthday when my dad told me that he got tickets for him and I to go to a local amateur-type wrestling event that was coming to our town at the Veterans Center. It was going to be just me and him watching some guys get hit and spend that time with my dad. We got to the venue extra early. There were some wrestlers who were selling their t-shirts and meeting fans. Dad proudly patted my back and told me I could get a t-shirt from one of the wrestlers I wanted. So I approached this guy who was sitting in the corner. No other kid was going to him, maybe because of his attire. He looked like a distorted Arnold Schwarzenegger, if it makes any sense. His face seemed pumped like he had injected something under his skin to turn himself into a look-alike of the famous actor. I couldn't believe it at first, but as our eyes met, he gave me a big, creepy smile. But still, I approached him.
Hey, could I have a t-shirt?
Of course. What's your name?
Chad.
He gave me a t-shirt and asked,
Tell me, Chad, do I seem familiar to you?
I wasn't expecting him to ask this, but being a 10-year-old, I answered with honesty.
Yeah, you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Right. Some even say I look better than him.
Really?
He understood the mockery in my voice, and his vulture eyes scanned me from top to bottom.
Are you making fun of me, Chad?
No, nope. So, have you ever met Arnold?
I did one time, but you know he uses steroids to gain all those muscles?
What? I don't think so. I mean, he is a beast. He has worked hard to be where he is now. People make all the false statements.
You don't know anything about him.
You
He lied. I know how much it takes to have that perfect body. That's why people say mine is better than his.
Now, I just couldn't keep going on with this Arnold's clone. I realized he was probably the one who pushed steroids or God knows what under his skin to get that filthy-looking body.
I'm gonna go.
Saying this, I turned around and saw my dad waiting for me.
Come on, Chad. The game's about to begin. Hurry up.
We sat down and the match started. One by one, fighters fought each other, and though it wasn't UFC, still, it was a lot of fun. But the entire time we watched the game, I could see the creepy Arnold watching me. I didn't ask for his name, so I had no idea who that guy was. What felt even weird was the fact that he didn't take part in any of those fights. Just sat in the corner, and the audience stood and watched me. Once the fight was over, we got up to leave for home. My dad and I were walking down the corridor when I spotted this vending machine.
Dad, can I get a soda? Sure, go ahead. I'll wait here.
He handed me some money, and I walked straight to the vending machine. I just grabbed the soda that rolled down from the machine and I felt a tight grasp on the back of my neck. Someone was choking me from behind. My eyes captured the reflection that fell on the glass of the vending machine, and I saw who it was. It was that I Wanna Be Arnold whom I ignored a few movements back. The corridor had become empty by then, and his grasp was so tight that I could barely scream. My eyes slowly shifted to my dad, and I saw him standing at some distance, talking to someone over the phone. He had his back facing me, so even if I kicked my hands in the air for help, he couldn't see me. The creepy Arnold brought his filthy-smelling mouth near my ear and whispered,
"Now do you realize how strong I am? This is what you get for mocking me, kid."
I wanted to say something, but I could feel my voice getting stuck in my throat. I started gagging and panting in fear. I wanted to scream for my dad, but he was going on with the phone call. Suddenly, the last chance to save myself from the psycho came to my mind. I had the soda can in my hand. I swung my hand in full force and hit him on the cheek quite hard. Feeling a terrible pain, he let go of me, and my dad turned around hearing the sound. He saw me lying on the ground, gasping for air, and this crazy dude standing close to me holding his swollen face.
"I will kill you!"
He again came towards me, but I heard my dad's rushing footsteps and threat.
Keep your filthy hand away from my son!
He jumped on the man and punched him in the eyes. The man fell to the ground, and I saw my dad sitting over him, raining down on him with punches and slaps. Security came running. They grabbed my dad to separate him away from that man. By then, his face was plumped like an eggplant. He had bruises and a black eye. The cops were called, and security kept eyes on this man until they arrived. When the cops finally arrived and were taking him away in their car, he yelled at me saying,
"I am the real Arnold. The whole world will know it one day. You are all making a huge mistake. I will be back, and I will have revenge, kid. Remember, I will prove to you who is the real deal."
I later found out that this man once sneaked into Arnold's parking area, and he actually met the famous celebrity. He not only went overboard with his limits, but he also accused Arnold. I finally understood that by not being able to catch Arnold's attention, he decided to shower his hate comments and slowly turned himself into a clone of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It even came to a larger shock when I got to know that this man used to be a UFC fighter himself. But after getting into a feud with Arnold's security, he started taking steroids and has gone through innumerable plastic surgeries to make himself look like the famous celebrity. By hating the very man he was obsessed with all this time, the creep showed me how twisted some fans' minds can be.
Currently, tattoos are a difficult topic for me. I can't even bear to see one, as it automatically reminds me of what happened that afternoon. Back then, I was still a teenager. Now, I am ashamed to admit I was very impressionable and naive. As soon as I made friends with some girls who had tattoos, I wanted one too. I thought they looked great, and I wished I was just like them. But there was one big problem. My father. Come on, Dad, please.
I said no, Jesse.
Why not? Give me a good reason.
Are you seriously asking me for reasons? God made it very clear that we should take care of our body, and you want to hurt it? Put ink on it and regret it later? No, definitely not. I'm offended you even ask.
I can't say he was too strict, but he was very clear about his Catholic principles. I won't regret it, Dad.
Yes, you will. Where did you get the idea that they're good, huh?
Ugh, stop! In my group of friends, there was this girl. Her name was Rosa, and she had several tattoos, but she wanted more. That's how it all started. But I have to find a new tattoo artist, since the one who did these 3 is no longer in town. Jesse, are you okay? How did you get your parents to give you their permission? I don't think they even know I have them. So, how did you... I don't need permission if I go to the right place. Are you interested? After a few days, one of Rosa's friends passed her the contact of a tattoo artist who would be willing to help us. It was a Saturday afternoon when we decided to go to the place. My friend and I walked through the big city to a narrow and smelly alley. Rosa? What, are you scared? Come on, it's this way. She and I approached some stairs that seemed to lead to the basement of a building. I was scared, just like she said. The building was damp after the rain, and the lighting was dim. It didn't seem like a place I wanted to be. Just before Rosa knocked on the door we were in front of, I grabbed her wrist to stop her. Wait, are you sure this is the place? Ugh, Jessie. She moved her hand a bit, so I let go. What did you expect? If you want to get a tattoo illegally, do you think the place is going to be nice? Did you think it would be in the middle of the city or something? Let me tell you the truth. No. They have to tattoo us like this, in the darkest, most hidden room in town, you know? You'll have to accept it if you really want this. I just stared at her without responding. Rosa was right, so I wouldn't complain again. This time, she managed to knock on the door. After a few seconds, someone spoke. Who is it? My name is Rosa. I think I spoke to you on the phone? Rosa, yeah, I remember. The woman's voice sounded strange, as if she was sleepy. The next thing we heard was locks being turned. And then the door opened, revealing an overweight woman with tattooed arms and orange hair. She stepped aside and then said, "Hurry up! I don't want any more rats getting in here." Rosa had to grab me by the wrist to force me to move forward, since I had stayed completely still. I wasn't comfortable at all, but it was too late. I couldn't leave her alone. As I walked past the woman, my nose caught a strange smell. "Continue to the first door in the hall." After her comment, I heard the door close. Just as the woman had requested, we continued on to the first door, but nothing seemed to improve. The light that illuminated the hall didn't stop flickering. The walls were full of moisture, and it was very cold. "So, this is normal, right, Rosa?" Before she could answer me, the door we were facing opened. This time, we met a man with long black hair, as well as a beard, who had as many tattoos as the woman, but there was one clear difference. He had a tattoo on his face. Beneath his left eye was a black tear.
You must be Rosa and Jesse. I'm Lex. Do you have the cash?
Sure.
Great. Sherilyn will tattoo you, Rosa, and I'll take care of you, Jesse.
I put my eyes on Rosa, who seemed to remain calm. Cool. Come on, Rosa. It didn't take long for my friend to go with the woman into the other room.
Can you close the door, Jesse?
I did as he said, and a bad feeling began to grow inside me. I felt like a bird in a cage. There weren't even any windows in the room.
Come sit down while I get everything ready.
Okay. Sitting down, I cautiously watched him grab the black ink.
What do you want to get tattooed, huh?
Well, maybe a butterfly or a flower. I was actually hoping you could help me with that. The man went still suddenly.
Help you with that? Are you a baby?
Excuse me?
Are you sure you want this? You look like a duckling lost in the woods, or worse yet, a rat in, looking for the cheese in a trap.
Was I supposed to accept these comments? A few minutes ago, Rosa seemed very calm, so I assumed that her other experiences had been similar. Of course I want this.
You haven't even decided.
A daisy. I want a daisy in this area of my arm, please.
Okay.
The moment the man grabbed my arm, a shiver ran down my spine. I felt excessively tense when he started tattooing me, although luckily it didn't hurt too much. As if that weren't enough, that strange odor that I had smelled on the woman was also here. What's that smell?
Do you know what the tattoo on my face means, Jesse?
The man, instead of answering my question, asked another. The tear? Does it mean anything in particular?
This is happening to you because you're stupid.
What? For some reason, I was starting to get dizzy.
If you weren't so naive, you would know that today you are going to die.
I didn't have the strength to respond or stay awake. When I opened my eyes, I still couldn't move, but I could speak. The man was in front of me, going through some objects on a shelf. Hey. I was in a very small room, and I got desperate when I realized that I was tied up. What are you?
I love doing this to stupid kids like you.
He started to get closer. Stop!
You deserve this, Jesse. I need your skin. There are so many ways to use it. As food to get money. You deserve this for being a stupid little shit.
When he began to hurt me with one of his tools, I started to scream. Ah! And when the pain became unbearable, I passed out. When I finally woke up again, I was in a dumpster. My whole body ached. I had a severe cut on my neck and scratches all over my body, but I was alive for some reason. Some people helped me by taking me to the police station, where I told them everything that happened. Unfortunately, Rosa's body was found in a dumpster hours later, but no sign of the tattoo artist. To this day, they are still looking for them. I've always considered myself an ordinary girl. I'm one of those people who produce little or nothing. I tend to go unnoticed on the street because no one looks at me long enough to notice me. Maybe that's why I was so surprised when Ethan took an interest in me. Ethan is a tan, tall, muscular man. He comes from a family with a lot of money and dresses very well. He's the kind of guy that when you see him on the street, you think he's unreachable. Honestly, this is not my type of guy, but when he approached me to talk at a party, I must admit I was very intrigued by his mysterious and seductive personality. We quickly started dating, and within 2 months we became a couple. Little by little, he allowed me to become a part of his world. He told me that he had just gotten out of a long relationship and convinced me to learn how to play tennis. I paid more attention to how I dressed and started putting on makeup. I even dyed my hair blonde, something I never would have imagined doing at the time, but I did it because Ethan liked it. My friends told me that I was becoming more and more distant from them, that they didn't like Ethan, and that they thought I would never be that vain. Their claims seemed ridiculous to me. Caring more about my appearance didn't make me a worse person. After a few months, we were a stable, established couple. The day it all happened, I gave in to accompanying him to the tanning salon. I had never been there before and was a little uncomfortable, but I decided to do it for him.
Babe, are you really that scared? It's just a tanning salon. It's not like you're getting a tattoo or anything.
I know. I'm just a little uncomfortable. I never thought I'd come in here.
After a while, you'll get used to it. Believe me. It's very relaxing.
When we entered, we were attended by a girl who seemed to know Ethan. She led us to a somewhat secluded room where there were 2 tanning beds. We left our belongings to one side, and the girl left us alone. Okay, here goes nothing.
That's the attitude.
I got into the tanning bed, and I must admit, it felt pretty good. I started to relax and lay there for a while. I felt like I could fall asleep. As I was relaxing, I remembered it was my nephew's birthday, so I got out of the bed to write him a quick text and then come back. After grabbing my cell phone and sending the message, I saw a notification from my best friend, and out of curiosity, I opened it. When I read what she wrote and the pictures she sent me, I was filled with anger. Furious, I hit Ethan's Tanner, and when it opened, I confronted him.
What happened, babe?
What the hell, Ethan?
Hey, slow down.
What the hell is this?
It's my ex, Linda. What's up with that?
What's up with that? You are such a jerk. You made me dye my hair like hers. You made me wear her same style of clothes, her makeup.
Linda, you're going crazy. It's just a coincidence.
Coincidence? She's a damn tennis instructor, Ethan. You didn't even know how to play tennis when you first took me there.
Hey, stop yelling. You're gonna embarrass me.
Embarrass you? You went out with me just because I look like your ex. You're a psycho. That's why you were never interested in my stuff. Do you think I'm a blank vessel that you can just mold to your liking?
Ethan's calm personality changed in an instant. Without my expecting it, he grabbed me by the neck with one hand and spoke to me angrily, like I had never seen him before.
No, Linda, you're not a vessel. You're a poor, dirty girl with no family and friends and with no brain cells. Before you met me, you had no future, and you weren't gonna have one. You should feel grateful that I noticed you. That, for some crazy reason, I think you look even the slightest bit like my ex.
You are sick.
With all my strength, I managed to kick him in the crotch and started to run. I let out a little scream, but before I even got to the door, Ethan grabbed me by the hair and pulled me back.
Let me go! Help!
He quickly covered my mouth and with all his strength, grabbed me with one hand and locked me in his tanning bed.
You know what? I consider forgiving you even after the embarrassment you put me through, but you're still not tan enough, like her.
From inside the bed, I heard a few beats, and suddenly I started to feel very hot. This was not the same heat I felt before. It was much more intense. He surely had it turned up to the max. I kept banging on the door with all my might, begging for someone to come and rescue me, but it was useless. Breathing became more and more difficult, and my skin was burning. I was desperately crying. Everything that touched me was hot as hell, and because Ethan held the door of the machine, I couldn't escape. I felt like I was going to suffocate to death. In my worst moment of desperation, the door opened, and I fell to the floor, where I began to roll around in pain. The girl who had attended to us was looking at me, crying. A few meters away, there were 4 men trying to stop Ethan, who was looking at me rabidly. That man looked like he was about to explode with rage. He seemed to be able to dispatch those 4 men and 10 more, but luckily that didn't happen. Other men arrived and held him until the police came. I didn't see the moment they took him away, as the ambulance arrived first and took me to the hospital. I had 2nd-degree burns and respiratory complications. Although after a month I had improved, I was told that I would need surgery to get my skin back to the way it looked before. In the meantime, I refused all attempts to negotiate with Ethan's lawyers. I was ready to take that man to trial for attempted murder and have him arrested, and I had the witnesses for that. Meanwhile, I had gone back to the way I was before, carefree and more confident. I still dress fashionably, put on makeup and play tennis, things I really like to do. But now I do it because I like it, and not because of the strange obsession of a millionaire psycho who almost killed me.
Hey guys, my name is Leon, and I have a horror and urban exploration YouTube channel. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. A ghost channel. How original. He sure lies in his videos. And actually, you're right. All of our scares are fabricated. But the story I'm about to tell you was not fabricated. Everything I experienced that night was real. And you know what? My team and I encountered something more diabolical than ghosts, zombies, or demons. We encountered the most evil and cruel entity that can exist. Humans. On that day, we were visiting Germany. Our objective was not that small village, which I will not mention its name, but we were going to look for ghosts in an abandoned hospital several kilometers away. When we stopped to rest, it looked more like a small town than a village. Unlike what you might think of the Germans, the people were very welcoming and treated us as if we were members of their families. We had planned to continue our trip, but decided to spend the night in an inn to enjoy the visit.
Tourists? What? You stay in?
Before he could answer, a girl spoke up first.
I'm sorry, Franz doesn't speak English well. He was asking if you are the tourists and if you're going to spend the night at the inn.
Oh, yeah. Is there a problem with that?
Oh, no. We just came by to say hello. My name is Emma. Nice to meet you.
Leon.
Nice camera. Are you guys YouTubers?
Oh, yeah. We have a YouTube ghost channel.
That's great. Actually, we also came for another reason. Have you ever played Treasure Hunt? Yeah, of course. We used to play it all the time. Great! As a tradition, here we always play with the tourists, but the treasure is somewhere in an abandoned house in the forest, full of ghosts. Do you think you can find the treasure box?
I don't know. We're a little tired.
I'm sure it'll make a great YouTube video, and it would be a nice gesture. It would be a beautiful thing for the whole world to see our little town. Aw, of course we will. I can't guarantee that many people will see it, but we'll definitely go. And at night.
In the worst case, a ghost will kill us and this place becomes famous.
Thank you guys. You don't know how much this means to us. We'll go hide the treasure. Don't go until nightfall.
Well, I guess we should get ready for the night.
As the night came, we went with our team to this abandoned house, and we have to admit, this really was great content for our channel. The place was trashed, it was spooky, and you felt that at any moment, something was going to happen.
I must admit, I'm quite surprised. Right, Julia?
Yeah, these guys have a lot of guts to come here and hide something.
While the rest of them were talking, I walked a little further into the house with the camera in my hand. I looked out the window, and though I couldn't see anything clearly, I saw something move through the trees.
I don't like this. Guys, I think today's people are...
Oh my god. I got the scare of my life.
Look, out the windows!
As we looked outside, there were a lot of flashlights pointing in our direction. Suddenly, we began to hear footsteps near us. We were not alone.
Do you think it's those guys? Maybe someone else lives here.
I don't know, and I don't care. Let's get out of here as soon as possible.
I started to walk nervously to the exit, but when I saw something with my eyes, I quickly took a step back. A white, shapeless face was peering out, staring at us. As soon as he realized I saw it, he hit his head.
Leon, what's going on? Let's get out of here now.
We can't. We can't. There's someone on the other side of the door waiting for us to come out.
Julia didn't say anything, but I could see the terror running all over her face. The footsteps were getting closer and closer. We didn't know whose they were, but they were coming from the opposite direction to where I had seen the person with the mask. This was a trap. After a few seconds, the footsteps stopped. But we began to hear banging outside the house.
What now?
Guys, look up!
I raised my head in terror and was met with something worse than I could have expected. With each blow, the roof began to crack.
The house is gonna fall! Run!
We started running desperately out the front door and without fear of running into the person in the mask and through the forest as we listened to the house falling down. As soon as we got out, we ran into the teenagers again. Furious, I grabbed Franz by the jacket.
What the hell is wrong with you? Did you try to kill us? What?
You tried to break down the house with us in it. I should kill you.
We do nothing. We just here.
We just came here because of the noise, to see if you were okay. We had nothing to do with it. What happened?
Bullshit! We saw you with your flashlights. It was you!
Suddenly, the police arrived because of the noise. While I was talking to them, I turned around to talk about the young men. They were gone. We spent the whole trip wondering what had happened. Had it been those young men? Someone else? Ghosts? As we watched the footage, the answers came. When we escaped from the house, we were so upset that we didn't see how the teenagers were covered in dust. And one of them, the dirtiest one, had a huge hammer that he must have used to break the pillars of the house. Today, we still don't understand what we did to those people to make them try to kill us that way. In the meantime, we keep uploading YouTube videos of us exploring and dealing with ghosts. While we may someday encounter a real ghost, it sure won't be as dangerous as encountering more humans.
The man you see on this footage is known as Jamie Osuna, or the infamous clown-faced killer. In 2011, he was arrested for murdering a 37-year-old woman in a motel by stabbing her with sharp weapons. He later confessed of being a Satanist, sadist, and had multiple tattoos, like a pentagram, the eerie Joker smile on his face. The following story is a dramatized version based on this terrifying serial killer. I'm a tattoo artist. People of various backgrounds, ages, and ethnicities visit my place to get tattoos. Sometimes they tell me exactly what they want, and other times I suggest things to them from my own artwork. Due to my profession, I get to meet all kinds of people. People with bad tempers and body odor, people with polite natures and well-mannered behavior. But this one time, a particular customer scared the crap out of me. It was a mundane Tuesday night, probably around 7 p.m. I was just finishing tattooing a butterfly on a boy's arm when the studio door slammed open. A man dressed in blue jeans and a dirty yellow t-shirt entered. He looked around the shop with wide eyes and then noticed me. A huge grin appeared on his face as he looked me in the eye.
Are you the tattoo artist?
Yep, that's me.
Good. Good.
Saying this, he took a seat in the waiting area and surprisingly waited for his turn. The boy must have been freaked out by him because he got all tense. As soon as I was done, he paid me and fled home. The man watched the boy leave with a scary face. He chuckled to himself, seeing the boy feel intimidated by his presence. You can come over now. The man came to the chair, and for the first time, I noticed his whole face from a close view. His entire face was already filled with tattoos. He had patterns made around his eyes, resembling a clown face. There were snakes tattooed on his neck and cheeks. So, do you have a design in mind? He took out a small paper and said,
I want this to be a tattoo on my forehead.
I opened the paper and saw it was a pentagram with a demon head in the middle. This wasn't my first time doing creepy tattoos, so I reacted professionally. Okay, sure. I started my job, and the man began conversing with me, asking me all kinds of weird questions.
Are you not scared?
Of what?
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, it's a pentagram.
That's not some ordinary pentagram, lady.
Well, what is it?
That's the seal of Baphomet, the Dark Lord. Tell me, do you believe in God?
I had my sense of reasoning, but for the sake of saying the minimum, I replied, I do.
Then you must believe in evil as well, 'cause evil is real.
If I could have, I would have kicked him out. But I decided to keep my job and get done with this freak as soon as possible. I didn't say anything else. I just kept tattooing. I've seen many customers, even after 100 tattoos, still jitter once the needle hits. But this man was hard as stone. He didn't move, didn't flinch. It was as if he felt nothing. After a short silence, he spoke again.
I still remember the day my uncle threw a brick at me like it was some silly joke to play on a 9-year-old.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But he wasn't there to save me that day. I prayed and prayed, but he never taught my uncle a lesson. So one night, I put super glue in his shaving cream. I still remember his scream when the flesh of his face came out in chunks. Such fun days.
I was too stunned to speak, and something in me made me go on with the job like a robot, as if I was his slave for that hour. Even if I'd wanted to, I couldn't stop and say no. He remained quiet for the rest of the session, and once I was done, I felt my hands getting numb from fear. He got up and went to look in the mirror.
You did good.
Thanks. He handed me the money, and I don't know why, but a small amount of courage piqued in me. Where is your uncle now?
Burning in hell with my stepdad. That sucker used to beat me with a whip when I was a kid. He would tie me to a tree in our backyard and just whip me until I fainted out of pain. You know what I did to him?
My heart was racing faster than a cheetah. I mumbled, "What?"
I served him bleach every night. Sometimes with soup, sometimes with curry. I clapped in my room when I heard him vomit his ass off every morning. Slowly, his heart gave up. Everyone thinks this sucker died of a heart attack. A heart attack. Hope the two of you are regretting how you treated me.
You killed them?
Are you gonna call the cops?
No.
Why? You too tired to call the cops? Go ahead, do it. No one holds the authority when it comes to calling the cops. Oh.
Trust me, I couldn't move an inch. I thought if I take one step, this crazy freak might lunge at me and actually murder me. When he realized I didn't have the guts, he smiled creepily and walked to the exit door. Before leaving, he turned around one last time and waved at me.
Hope you never have to see me again. If you do, don't forget to call the cops.
And he left. I don't remember how I went home that night, but the story doesn't end here. Months later, I was having dinner in my apartment while watching TV. I accidentally turned to the news channel, and I saw him again. That Satan-worshipping freak had made the headlines.
Last night, a 36-year-old woman was found murdered in a motel in Kern County. The mother of 6 was probably going to bed when the killer, a man named Jamie, sneaked into her room and stabbed her to death. Investigators say she has been gagged and found with stabbing instruments protruding from her back. The cops are searching for him, and they have sources coming up to them to help and identify this man. A motel staff claimed to have seen a sketchy-looking guy the afternoon before the murder happened. Witnesses say he has a clown face tattoo and various other inkworks on his entire body. He also has a pentagram tattooed on his forehead. The cops think the man is probably a Satanist, but further details are yet to come. Without a single doubt, this is said to be one of the most gruesome murders in recent times.
Eventually, the cops arrested Jamie, and his wife helped them catch her deranged husband. What shocked me the most was how he had no remorse. When he was taken to court, he was all smiles and even waved at the camera, just like he waved at me that night. It scares me to death that my client turned out to be a psychopathic murderer. Even if I feel badly for him because of his troubled childhood, I still can't reason why he killed that innocent woman. Maybe the torture unleashed some demon within him. Or maybe he was always a freak. What do you think?
Do you really know how much a traumatic situation can break a child? Sometimes it's hard to admit, but my own father is a disgusting monster. When I was young, although he was never particularly fond of me, he didn't treat me bad either. On the other hand, with my sister, that man was different. Ever since Jane was born, 6 years after me, our father was always very close to her, pampering and overprotecting her all the time. Our mother thought she was just Daddy's spoiled daughter. But 2 years ago, we found out what he was really doing to her at the time. Something that shouldn't be done to a child. Soon, Mom denounced him, and so he left our lives. But my sister had already been very affected. As a 10-year-old girl, Jane suffered from fits of rage and was very emotionally dependent on her family. More on me than our mother. She didn't like to play with other children or leave the house. In fact, when she saw another man, she would start screaming. For 2 years, Jane had been receiving therapy. She had even changed her psychologist several times. But her case was progressing slowly. Still, our mom didn't want my sister to be given any kind of medication.
Adam,
I'm here, in the kitchen. What's going on?
why didn't you wake me up? You're having breakfast without me?
Oh, chill out.
Even though I asked her to, her angry expression didn't change.
You were sleeping so peacefully, I didn't want to... Anyway, I prepared your food, okay?
Do you like leaving me alone?
You know I don't. I just did it to let you rest, I think.
Right, I needed to rest, because today is Halloween.
But you don't even like to go out.
I'll wait all night for you to bring me my candy.
It was common for me to do that on Halloween, and in fact, I liked to bring her candy to make her happy. But that year, I had different plans.
I'm sorry, little one, but tonight I won't be able to make it.
But what about my candy?
I'll buy you some tomorrow.
It's not the same. What are you gonna do then, huh?
The truth was that, weeks ago, my best friend Billy had invited me and Emma, another friend, to a Halloween party.
Are you going out with Emma?
I'm going out with my friends. It'll just be this time, okay?
In the evening that same day, I was ready. I had disguised myself as a skeleton. In fact, I was truly satisfied with my appearance. A short time later, I received a message from Emma. "I'm outside your house," it said, since we had planned to go to Billy's Halloween party together. As I opened the front door of my house.
Looks good on you.
I was gonna say exactly the same.
Luckily, the abandoned house where Billy had planned to have the party wasn't too far away, but we had to cross a path through the woods. After a while, we arrived at an old building.
It's pretty obvious it's here, isn't it? I mean, I can't remember the last time I heard so much noise.
Oh, shut up. Let's have some fun.
My friend took me by the hand, and together, we ran towards the place. Arriving at the front door, she rang the bell. Soon, Billy opened it.
Man, you came! Hey!
Let's get to the point, Billy. Where are the drinks?
Follow me. Oh, can you check that, Adam? I'll be right back.
I didn't mind helping him, so I turned and walked to the door.
Huh? But there's no one... Shit!
As a reflex action, I had moved away, but I went back to the door as soon as the bell rang again.
What the hell? A fucking mask?
The stranger stood still for a few seconds, until suddenly, they launched towards the doorbell camera.
Stop it already! What's up, Adam? I thought you were gonna open the door. It was a kid making a joke. If you say so. Come on, don't you want to dance with Emma?
I put aside what had happened and walked over to my friend, who was already dancing in the crowd.
Adam!
I joined her, which really relaxed me, as moving my body to the music was quite fun, until I saw that person again. The broken doll was now inside the house, separated from the other people.
What's wrong?
I think there is a child at the party.
A child?
In the blink of an eye, my friend's expression changed to one of fear.
Emma?
When she fell to the ground, I could see that she had a knife stuck in her torso.
Emma! Billy, come here!
My friend came after a few seconds when the people around were realizing what was happening.
Shh. What happened? I don't know. What the fuck are you waiting for? Call an ambulance!
I took my cell phone out of one of my pants pockets, but I couldn't concentrate.
I can't do anything with such loud music! Well then go upstairs, genius!
It didn't take me long to walk among the people until I reached the stairs of the house and went up to the second floor. I typed the emergency number and was about to call.
Adam!
What?
The broken doll was there, coming up the stairs in an oddly wobbly way.
Did you like what I did to Emma?
What the?
My heart started beating fast when I saw the person had a knife in their hand, so I decided to run along a hall, enter a room, and lock the door.
Adam, I need you.
I could barely see in there.
What the heck? What the heck?
You are there, aren't you? Get out! I need you.
Is this a fucking joke? I'm calling the police.
The police? What for? Forget that. I need you. Let's go for my candy together.
My skin got goosebumps the moment I realized.
Jane?
I'm not afraid to go out anymore. I can take care of anyone who wants to hurt me. You saw it yourself.
My sister was too young to go to jail and broken enough to be sent to a mental hospital. So that's where she is now. After the attack, I did my best to apologize to Emma, but that didn't make it any better, as it had been too traumatic for everyone involved. Sometimes it's hard to admit, but I don't miss Jane.